Down to down, down, 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 down. Y'all!
Yeah!
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 We're back. Let's do it again. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Great to have you. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good week. Happy midweek. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, the guy in charge of this radio broadcast and every radio broadcast that you like, none of the ones that you don't. He is the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the content cash cow, the professor of perfection, the sultan of swag, the wizard of wave, Colonel Grudge, hashtag dad kicks, the great one himself, Lonzo's here. What up, Zoe?
Nope.
So good.
Nope.
So good.
How could I not put that in there? You know?
So good. We had AEW star Darby Allin on the show yesterday. Darby, of course, has a mentor right now. It is 63-year-old Sting, who is Lonzo's favorite of all time and is still jumping off of ladders out of wrestling rings. Lonzo takes, 48 seconds to ask, can you please ask Sting to stop? And Darby goes,
Nope.
and that was the answer. That's the answer. Nope.
I mean, he expanded upon it
Incredible
later,
moment.
but still, I mean, and yeah.
Incredible
I you know
moment.
what, you rarely get an opportunity to reach out to someone for intervention. And and that was my shot at it. It didn't work, but
It didn't work at all.
I had to go for it on behalf of many fans who I've seen express the same things on the X show. And yeah, I mean, come on,
Grandpa,
Stan.
no!
Don't, Mama, Papa's on the ladder again.
So good. All right, we got a lot of stuff to get to on the radio broadcast today. I do have to say before we go anywhere that yesterday, College Rob got a chance to have a little fun as we went out to see OAR and the Goo Goo Dolls.
All right, so I know the Goo Goo Dolls because they show up on my Spotify a bunch because there's that one song
That one song?
You know that one that I really like.
Why don't you slide around?
Yeah, it's not that one. It's
Could you whisper in my ear?
No, I like that
Did
song
you
though.
want- Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's a banger.
Yeah, but that's not the song either. It's the one from the Nick Cage movie.
The one from the Nick Cage movie.
'Cause I don't want the world to see
Because I don't think that they'd understand.
Everything is meant to be broken.
I just want you
to know who I am.
am.
I think that's the name of the title. Yeah, you knew that. You didn't know that was from a Nick Cage movie.
I did not know that song is called Iris.
Yeah,
and I did not know that.
it was the one with Meg Ryan, I think.
I didn't know Nick Cage did a movie with
Nick Cage is actually an angel.
City of Angels from 1998, starring Nick Cage, Meg Ryan, Dennis Franz, and a bunch of other people I don't know. In Los Angeles, California, Seth is one of many angels who watch over humans, protecting them in unseen ways. His main responsibility is to appear to those who are close to death and guide them into the next life. Never seen it. Didn't know it was a thing.
If I recall, they used the song in like the trailer and
Yep.
stuff like that. You know, that was my first foray into them and hearing them. And I know I've heard of OAR before, but I don't know any of their songs. I mean, do you? You were there.
The next morning, as Seth is showering, Maggie rides her bicycle to a local store. On her way back, happy and fulfilled, she rides her bicycle with her eyes closed and her arms wide open. Her happiness is cut short when she fails to notice a logging truck crossing her path and is gravely wounded in a collision.
Yeah, before.
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's, and it was later copied in Titanic. So, I mean, when arms
Getting hit by a logging truck? I don't remember
Well,
that part.
yeah, they replaced it with an iceberg, but
I got it.
when the arms
I'm the
wide
king of the
open, yeah,
world!
that one they saw a Nick Cage movie because most
Most
things are
copy Nick Cage movies.
yeah, without a doubt because
for
he's in 10,000 movies.
For
So.
sure. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have some fun on the radio broadcast today. Not that we're not already doing that. A lot of stuff we need to get to, a lot of stuff that we need to talk about.
Yeehaw!
Nope.
That's the kind of day we're going to have today.
Nope. Shane Beamer said that recruiting is not slowing down at the University of South Carolina, and there was article after article after article after article that it was. And then yesterday, Shano pulls another coup and ends up with another 5-star getting signed. We'll talk about that. The Clemson Tigers. I knew it was coming. See, I was ready that time. I prepared myself mentally for that moment.
Well, I told you, it's not going away unless management steps in. So, I mean, you know, and why would you want to get rid of the rallying cry of the mighty Tigers?
ESPN's Football Power Index has put out the odds it believes each team has to win a 2023 college football national championship. Lonzo is going to be very, very happy with these numbers. Clemson fans will not. I'm going to tell you what those are later on in the show. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to do a lot of NFL talk. We got to talk about Irsay. We got to talk about Rodgers and Hackett.
Hey, Rob. Did you know? I don't know. I don't know if you knew. I should hit the breaking glass, but I don't have to because we mentioned this before. But did you know the Hall of Fame game is tomorrow night? You know what else? I don't know if you knew this. You can hear it right here on the Fan Upstate.
Sure can, ladies and gentlemen. You're home for football talk and play-by-play in the upstate of South Carolina is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world. For free on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Grab it, put it on all your digital devices, and don't miss a minute of broadcasting because you will if you don't. You know what you won't see, though? Well, you might see them, Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers, but you're just not going to see them on the field. They'll get like a series. No. It's already. I saw somewhere that neither one of them is going to play. Deshaun's got. You have to play Deshaun. He should, but I read somewhere that he's not. I have sources that say he's not going to play. Hashtag sources. You got to play. You got to play that dude until he proves that he can go back to being the guy you paid $250 million with a B dollars for. You got to play that dude till he shows me he's that guy. He's not that guy. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame game later in the show, certainly tomorrow, because tomorrow is the Hall of Fame game. Yes, it's the game that they play at the Hall of Fame. Canton, Ohio. Why is the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio? Because it's where it should be. The thing is very deceptive, though. I was there like in 1984, which was a really the building looked way too small to have the stuff in it. It's expanded since then. I have no doubt. There's a Canton McKinley plays their high school football games, or they did in that stadium, and at the time they had no lights. So so the game had to be played during the day. And playing in high school, we got to go there and see what guys who are going to go to a big time school look like. They already look like they're in the NFL. That was watching them go by. I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not on that field. Founded in 1805, Canton, Ohio has a population of 70,872. Canton, Ohio can't fill up a football stadium, but that is the seat of the Football Hall of Fame. Hey, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. I mean, all good things come from Ohio. You're welcome. Don't pause too long because, I know it's that alarm will go off. But I had to do the Jim Halpert stare because what you just said was inane. You don't want the alarm to go off. On September 17th, 1920, a meeting was held at the Hupmobile showroom in the Independent Order of Odd Fellows built. Oh, that's very Ohio. In Canton, to found the American Professional Football Association, renamed the NFL in 1922. The attendees included Ralph Hay, owner of the Hupmobile showroom and the hometown Canton Bulldogs, and George Hallis, owner of the Decatur Staleys. Jim Thorpe of the Bulldogs was the league's first president. In 2014, a sculpture titled Birth of the NFL was erected in downtown Canton, marking the exact location in the Hupmobile showroom where the NFL was created in 1920. And I walk away with one question from this. What the hell is a Hupmobile? Hey, Ohio guy, what's a Hupmobile? Is it just a car? So it's a place you go do some hupping.
I mean, you know.
Hupmobile was an automobile built from 1909 through 1939 by the Hupp Motor Car Company of Detroit. The prototype was developed in 1908.
I think it's funny you think I'm that old that I would be. Are you?
I did not think you were around for the creation of the Hupmobile. I just assumed the Hupmobile had a special place in the heart of Ohio.
So if I go, Rob, this thing happened in Florida, like back in 1940, you know about it, right? Because you lived in Florida most of your life, so you should know that, right?
I mean, all good things come from Ohio, so nothing's ever happened in Florida.
That's true. That's really true.
All right, we're going to talk about the NFL Hall of Fame game later on. The ESPN has also put out a ranking of NFL rosters, top to bottom, all players included, 1 through 32. We'll talk about that later on in the show, see where the Panthers check in, and got a couple of other spinoff stories.
I'm upset. I put some work together for my alarm, and I can't find it. I hope I didn't delete it. Now I'm going to have to go into the other room and find it.
Alarm?
Because I had the perfect opportunity to play it, and I look at my cart, and it's not there.
Darn it.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Oh, I'll find it. If not, I'll put it together again.
Oh, gosh.
You got one? You got one over there. You played some stuff on it before.
Sure did. I forgot I had that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still waiting to duel here. I'm going to win the duel.
I'm not going to duel with the great one.
I mean, it's good. It could be fun. I mentioned the Diesel, and the first thing he said was dueling. I mean, it's a producer's dream. I mean, it really is. Actually, it would be very entertaining. It would.
Nope.
I got to get more miles out of Travis Kelce, man. I got to get more miles out of TK. Also coming up later on in the show, we heard the comments Monday of one Carli Lloyd. Carli popped off on the U.S. women's national team as she is embracing her role of chief women's soccer agitator, the female version of Alexi Lawless. Now, the U.S. women's national team boss is firing back, but there is another conversation there that I want to have in regards to roster building in the age of athletes having more attention than they've ever had before. And I want to talk about that later on in the radio broadcast. But while we're at that, there actually are some encouraging numbers for the U.S. women's national team as they get set for Sunday morning's game against Sweden in the knockout phase. Go, Lonzo. Breaking news brought to you by BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, beat the books with our friends at BetQL. And, of course, don't forget to listen on Saturdays to Bet for the Cycle, the nation's #1 baseball gambling show, as long as you only ask me and my mother and Cody Decker. And also we'll let you know that coming up at 7:20 tonight, Rob Brown will be making a guest appearance on BetMGM and BetMGM Tonight, the nationally syndicated show, to talk a little baseball. Take it away, Zoe.
All right. So on other shows, this would not be breaking news, but the fact that we have AEW coming in Saturday, and we do have some tickets to give away later on, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page will remain elite. All have renewed their contracts, signing multi-year deals with AEW.
That's a different company, but you get it. Good.
I think Macho's universal.
Good. I certainly now love me some Darby Allin. I love me some MJF, but at the end of the day, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are the pillars. Without a doubt. Hoping they show up tomorrow. Probably not. We'll find out. We'll see. Looking forward to it. Oh, and BT Dubs, since you're here and we're listening and talking about it, coming up at some point over the next 2 hours and 46 minutes of radio broadcasting, Lonzo and I are going to give away a pair of tickets to All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision this Saturday night at the Bunce Core Wellness Arena.
I'm your huckleberry.
We will give those tickets away at some point over the course of the show. So stay tuned because, and this is a true statement, Lonzo and I have no idea when we're going to give those tickets away over the rest of the show. Eventually.
Yeah, I mean, you got to listen to the entire show. I mean, we could give it away like in a minute. We could do that.
We really could.
We're not going to, but yeah, I mean, I want to give a little more time for people to continue to listen. I know that's not the only reason why you're listening, but if you want to go, a lot of people tried to win yesterday. So,
all right.
It's part of the fun of it.
Let's run to a break because when we come back, Yesterday, Pat McAfee did a segment on BY. That would be, of course, the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. That, of course, would be Bryce Young. And I'm playing it for two reasons. Number one, so you can hear what old Pat had to say about the adventures of QB1 in Charlotte. But number two, because Pat is popping off and freaking out over BY, saying exactly what I've been telling you for the past, 3 weeks. So we'll talk about that when we come back. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we got a live read. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and
So I do remember the movie Stay Tuned. I think it had John Ritter in it. Could be wrong. I probably should look that up. But yeah, I pretty sure I saw that movie. It did have John Ritter in it. Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Do what?
Josh suggested cuts from a movie
Movie Stay Tuned. I don't know what that movie
which
is.
had John Ritter in it, and oh yeah, that guy.
Coming up on a Hump Day episode of Offsides with Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, we will tell you conclusively how the chips are going to fall in the final realignment of college football. Our divisional NFL picks. Which quarterbacks in the NFL are the most
Like you know anything about that? That's funny.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. Robin Lonzo with you on a Wednesday morning. Alarm.
I found it.
Alarm.
I'm gonna stop it. It goes on for like 3, 4,
Oh, good.
25 minutes.
Good. And now remind myself.
You can
to
play
never
too.
Say that word again, man. Never say that word again. Unbelievable.
Because if you do,
Alarm. Cool.
Nope.
Love the soundboard. You having fun, buddy?
actually, I kind
I
of
know.
I kind of
I know. I knew the
just-
answer to
just-
that before I asked
yeah,
it
yeah.
for the record.
I'm the kid who you give a toy to and
Yep.
he plays with it till it breaks.
Yep.
That's me.
Yep.
That's what happens when you grow up poor. You're not going to get another toy for a while, so you just keep playing with it.
Pat McAfee decided yesterday to talk a little bit about Carolina Panther QB1 Bryce Young and did so for a while. Now, after I genuinely mean 13 to 15 minutes of editing this clip and then re-listening and have it double checked by multiple people in the building to make sure that I've cleaned it up properly. Pat McAfee talking about Bryce Young yesterday, and this is what he said.
They announced him as a starter. They say everything he's doing is remarkable.
Yeah.
And I guess coming into the league, I talked to Chris Ballard because I asked him about the quarterback situation because we knew that the Colts were drafting a quarterback at 4. Were they going to trade up? Were they going to move? What was it going to be? He said that he knew Bryce Young was going. Everybody knew his brain was just special.
Yeah.
That's what his brain is special.
Yeah.
In every other draft kind of going into it, you're always trying to figure out the person's brain. Is this person going to be able to handle money,
What?
pressure,
What?
NFL offenses, NFL defenses,
What?
NFL locker room,
What?
and also the fame and the talking that is going to come alongside all of them.
Sure.
It is not necessarily a home run with every that can throw a football becoming an NFL quarterback. So whenever they talk about Bryce Young's brain coming in, that was what separated him from everybody. Remember Lombardi, Michael Lombardi, who'll be joining us today, who has been around the NFL for like 50 years. He said that he was not in on Bryce. He's too small.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Bingo.
What's he? Alabama? He's too small.
Is he over the line?
That's literally what he said. And then he said he's
So, Pat McAfee says, the way I say it in a bar after bourbon number 6 or 7, that BY is the guy, and that it's not just him saying that, but that there are other dudes who have been around the league for 50 bleeping years recognizing that BY has a mental cognizance about him that a lot of other people do not have. And as we've said a few times, that doesn't shock anybody, right? Bryce Young doesn't get drafted number 1 overall unless he has that level of mental cognizance about him, and it clearly does. Now, before I go any further, I do have to point out, Lonzo, Pac-Man in the background hitting McAfee with the what chant.
Well, normally the rest of the guys do it too, and for some reason they weren't doing that. It was just Pac-Man.
What? I love that. I love that.
No, but you don't like Pac-Man. So
No,
I mean,
but I do love that. So this is not all that surprising to me. Like I exactly. It doesn't shock me because this is what Lonzo and I have been telling y'all for a month and a half now. That if you get anything, and listen, I'm not going to lie, it's hard to get film. It's hard to get film. Most of what I've seen is stuff that comes from the Panthers, which means, they're being very selective about what they put out there. But the stuff I have seen is making BY look nuts. Now, there's another clip that's floating around right now. Bradley Bozeman. Because Bradley, at the conclusion of, I think, either Saturday or Sunday's practice at Panther training camp, Bradley Bozeman was asked about Bryce Young. And there's one thing from this clip that immediately jumped out at me. Here's Bradley Bozeman. This dude is apparently giving wholesale presentations to the defense. To the offensive line about blocking schemes. He is teaching the offensive line blocking schemes in the offense, and he is teaching the offensive line how to offensive line.
There's a thing that's happening, and this is not a bad word anymore. But Bryce appears to be a nerd.
He kind of doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, he appears to be a nerd. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think no one else is saying that, but he definitely appears to be one.
So here's the thing. Bryce Young is an athlete. Nobody's going to say he's not.
By the way, you can nerd out at a lot of things.
For sure.
He appears to be a football nerd, and that hopefully translates into wins.
I think that, and this is going to be something that is a bit of a social hot take, but when you are physically smaller and weaker than everybody else, you're almost kind of pushed into being a nerd. Now, I'm very happy that society has, over time, begun to not only accept that nerds are people too, but to elevate nerd culture into a place of respect. But if you're Bryce Young's size in middle school, in high school, unless you are an incredible athlete, BY was, you kind of got to rely on brains, right? Like you kind of got to. My old man used to tell me, you study, you do your schoolwork, you learn, you always learn. And I said, why? And his response to me once in high school was, because there will always be somebody who can kick your ass. That's it. No matter how big and bad you are, there will always be somebody bigger and badder than you, right? So it does not shock me that BY is like, now you still have to have really good genetics. Like you've got to be wired to be that guy. I, for instance, as soon as I reached a level in middle school where they started putting numbers and letters in the same equations, my brain broke. That's why all my jobs are words jobs. All my jobs involve me and a microphone. And that's for a reason. I promise you, if algebra didn't kick me in the nads, I would have been a scientist. I love science. I'm fascinated by science, but I can't science because I suck at math. Bad. So you've got to be hardwired for this. You've got to have a brain that just naturally works. You can sharpen it, but at the end of the day, you just got to have the sword to sharpen the sword. And BY seems to have a sword that he's been able to sharpen to a finer point than anybody else. And I think there's something to be said for that. So McAfee coming around on BY and Bradley Bozeman saying, who's teaching the offensive line how to do an offensive line? The quarterback. The rookie quarterback. BY is out there telling the offensive line, no, this is how you do it. This is the scheme. This is the way it works. It comes on the heels, the same story about the same guy that in like OTA number 3 went to the playbook, found a mistake, brought it to the coaching staff and was like, hey, yo, this is wrong, dude. And the coaches went, oh, he's got a point. This is wrong. This doesn't work. We gotta fix this. This dude is either live or die based on his mental capacity on a football field. His understanding of the game, his knowledge of the game. And that is why it's not just McAfee geeking out. It's not just McAfee going, oh, I get it now. It's the fact that McAfee is talking to multiple other GMs and smart guys out there that have been in the league for 50 bleeping years who have also said, oh, now I got it. Now I see it. Now I understand. Now, like I've said a number of times, Carolina fans, temper your expectations. Do not let your expectations get out ahead of you. Do not let your expectations get out of it's Super Bowl or bust in year one. It's not. It's not. Like, I think it's fine to set a optimistic view of win the division because the division's bad.
Yeah, that should be the floor. It really should be.
No, it should not be the floor. It absolutely should not be the floor.
All right. In my opinion, it should be the floor because there's no other team that stands out far above any other in the South. I know you may say New Orleans, but I mean, they do have, I've heard a Hall of Fame quarterback over there, but not all of us agree with that. We'll see. But other than that, how is that not the floor? How is that not the floor? They nearly won it last year with 2 coaches who could barely coach. And so now you got a guy who everyone's high on in Frank Reich, who's saying all the right things, doing all the right things, and has won games before. How could that not be the floor? Yeah, I know that rhymed. I can't help it. When you got flow, that's what you do.
It's not the floor because of 2 reasons. Number 1, the New Orleans Saints are better this year than they were last year, and they shared a record. But as I mentioned, vet quarterback who's been in the game and had a lot of success with a pretty good range of weapons versus rook quarterback who is impressing in his OTAs and his camp, no doubt, but rook quarterback who does not, I'm sorry, like you can get mad. The Saints have a better skill set than the Panthers do. That's not a question. That's a statement. Okay. So the Saints are a better constructed team. Now, I will say.
Did they not have that last year? Were they
No.
not as they so
No.
they're better constructed this year than they were last year,
Yes.
just because of the quarterback.
Because of the quarterback, because Michael Thomas comes back healthy this year. Because
For however long that lasts.
for however long that lasts. But if Michael Thomas is healthy, and all signs are indicating that he's very close to 100% right now, if Mike Thomas stays upright, yes, the Saints have a better constructed core. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas on the outside, Juwan Johnson's like the 9th-ranked tight end in the NFL right now. We talked about this before. It's fantasy value, but Hayden Hurst projected 24th, Juwan Johnson like 9th, right? Kamara and Jamal, who came down from Detroit, a guy that Lions fans brigaded the Saints subreddit to be like, this guy's going to shock you. Enjoy. Carolina
I
doesn't
don't know
have
why.
that.
I don't know why you keep throwing Kamara in there because we're sure that he's going to be there.
I am guessing based on the fact that he got all the charges dropped, and that does mean something. I'm not saying this is what he deserves. I'm saying it's what it's going to get. Based on the fact that the charges got dropped, I'm assuming because he's going to end up settling with the victim. And because of the fact that either today or tomorrow, Kamara is having a sit-down one-on-one with Roger Goodell, I suspect he catches at maximum a 2-game suspension. And that it's a very good possibility he's back for that Monday nighter against
Yeah,
Carolina.
we've thought that before, that it's going to be a small suspension and it's end up being bigger. So again, it's speculation. So you don't know that you have that guy. I'm just saying you're right, because they have many Ohio State receivers that makes them superior. But I don't think they're that far above. In all joking aside, I don't think they're that far above. They weren't that far above last year. They weren't at all last year. They're not going to be this year. We don't know what we have in the South. Putting your fandom aside, I could see why you would say New Orleans would be the better team, and Vegas is projecting it, and everyone else is projecting it. So I still think you're wrong. I think the floor is winning the South.
I think you are, and I appreciate it, optimistic. I think the floor, the worst they can do.
Lonzo says as he's looking at
hang
a
on.
keep pounding flag right over there behind your back.
Hang on.
And it's like, you
Hang
know.
on. When I say the floor means the worst they can do.
Right.
You think the worst they can do is win the division? The
Yes.
worst they can do.
Yes,
the
I do.
worst possible outcome in 2023 is win the division.
Absolutely. Now you may win it
That's a strong
you-
stance, bro.
You may win it with the same record that it was won last year with 8 wins? I mean, what won it last year? Was it 8 wins? I think it was. Or it might have been 9.
No, 9.
It was a
Tampa
9?
had 9.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, it may be with that amount of wins, you may only win half your games or a little over. But yeah, that's got to be.
First off, whoever wins this division is winning 10 games at the minimum. And I say that because the Saints last year had like the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL. This year, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL. The average quarterback ranking they play is like 21 or something like that, right? The worst team, the worst the winning team in this division does is 10 wins. I really think 11 to 12 is a possibility for New Orleans and Carolina. I think 7 to 10 is a possibility for Atlanta. I think 4 to 7 is a possibility for Tampa. But I am going to say that the worst outcome for Carolina is a divisional title I'm going to say bold.
All right. I don't know why, because when we picked their schedule, was it last week when we did that?
Yep.
I picked them to have a lot more wins than you did. And if they have the amount of wins that I picked them to have, how could they not?
Because they still could be behind New Orleans. I'm not saying this as a Saints fan. I'm saying this as a better team with the easiest schedule in the NFL. That in and of itself is a recipe for 11 wins.
We're going to find out, and we're going to find out really soon because football season is here, including the Hall of Fame game, which airs right here on the Fan Upstate tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So if you have to work, if you're out and about and you can't watch the game, listen to it right here.
Yes, indeed. All right, so you know what? I'll ask you guys. I was going to do a soccer segment coming up next for the U.S. women's national team, as we now know that knockout game number 1 will take place Sunday morning at 5 a.m.
Nope.
against Sweden. That's an excellent use of that drop. Sunday morning at 5 a.m. against Sweden, a team that has given us fits in years past, and we are playing at 5 instead of 10 p.m. on Sunday because we did not win the group, and that was the expectation. The schedule was optimized for the Americans to end up playing the night game in knockout stage number 1, but we'll play 5 a.m. instead. Carli Lloyd brought some heat, and now the manager of this team, Volkanovski, is fired back at Carli Lloyd. I want to talk about that, but I will go ahead and ask you guys, what is the floor for the Carolina Panthers? What is the worst possible outcome? The worst possible outcome, in my opinion, is a 6-win season. I can see a path to a 6-win season, which is not a roster reset. I mean, this is the rebuilding year around Bryce Young. I can see a 6-win season. The floor for Lonzo, it is an NFC South title. That is the ceiling to me, is win the division. So where do you set, not the ceiling, where do you set the floor for the Carolina Panthers? What is the worst possible outcome? We'll talk more about that later in the show. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate.
The Braves beat the Angels 5-1 Tuesday. Michael Harris ended a homer drought with 2 blasts, including a go-ahead shot in the 5th. Spencer Strider gave up 1 run over 6 2/3. It was his first win since July the 8th. 9 strikeouts in the victory. Harris hit his first homer since July the 3rd, lining it.
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds.
Sandoval, 445.
All right, what's up, everybody in the stream? How we doing? AJ, I had a friend who was from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I guess they were like 30, 45 minutes from the Pine Barrens, which is where the Mothman is supposed to live, and he had multiple stories about interactions he believed to be with the Mothman, and I have for years wanted to go camp the Pine Barrens. The Mothman. Oh no, that's Jersey Devil. Mothman's in West Virginia. Is that right? Either way, I want to go see both. I'm a non-believer in those things, but also 100% would go do the research. Would 100% go see if I had an experience with the Mothman or the Jersey Devil.
Just got to remind you and remind myself and remind everybody, we still plan on going squatching.
Sure. Squatch Fest, baby.
And we're going in incognito. We're going in as believers.
Going in as full believers.
Exactly. Want to know how to get started on it. Want to know, the depths that you have to go to be incorporated into the society.
The equipment that these people are buying and how much it costs. I want to see how much money they're sinking into this. I think that's how you can tell the difference between a fraud and somebody who truly believes is how much money they sink into it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, if somebody tells me they believe flat earth, I'm like, okay, you're just trolling me. But if I go down to the park and I see you with like full displays and research setup, then I'm like, oh, okay, this person's an idiot. I mean, a believer.
Stephen wants you to go see The Gray Man.
The Gray Man. Oh, you mean the go? That's on the Carolina, right? That's the Carolina Ghost on Myrtle Beach. I've heard of that one too. I do want to go there.
For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Can we make 10,000 thread count sheets?
I'm very interested in how convincing these people can be. The true believers and how much can they all convince me that at least they believe it. I'm much less of a doubter than Rob is, but still, I understand how really good storytelling can convince people something, even if you don't believe it.
I'm very clearly okay. I accept when someone says I had an experience. I do not accept when someone without hard evidence says they definitively know what caused that experience. If someone says I was in the woods and I heard a large noise and I saw something sitting up on a tree branch staring down at me with big wings, like, okay, but can you prove to me it wasn't a turkey vulture? You have to give me more than I saw it and it definitely was. If you're making it now, if you just said I saw a turkey vulture, I'll take your claim as legit.
You know, I might have seen a turkey vulture, but since I don't know what they are, I guess they're just a vulture, right? That looks like a turkey.
A turkey vulture is a specific kind of vulture.
Okay, well, what makes it a turkey vulture?
That's the species. That's the name.
Okay, I gotta look it up because there are vultures all over the place where I live. So I mean,
and I don't want the world to see me.
yeah, I think I've seen this.
Because I don't think that they'd understand.
My favorite part, because everything's made to be broken.
Because everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know who I am.
Did they kill that song last night?
Oh, they smoked that song.
Did
That was the walk-off song. That was the last thing they played.
Okay.
They did a pretty good job of spreading out the songs that made it into the songs that, you know, the casuals wouldn't know. Here is my question. And I, for the record, was not upset with this dude at all because I get it because I'm usually this guy. But explain to me how it was. We got through a series of debacles and disorganization. We got into our seats. I'm not exaggerating, Lonzo. 1 hour and 24 minutes after OAR started their gig. We made it to our seats in time to hear the last 2 OAR songs. Okay. And then there was about a 30-minute break while they, struck and reset the stage for the Goo Goo Dolls. In front of my seat, because the seats, at most auditoriums, Lonzo, they're like staggered, right? So if you're sitting here, the heads of the 2 people in front of you are on both sides of you, and then they kind of go like that. Sitting directly in front of me, because the chairs are head to head to head, like you're looking at the back of the person's head in front of you.
Where were you at again?
I'm not going to say it because I have multiple complaints about the situation from last night.
All right, I know where.
I don't want to get myself in trouble.
I know where you were.
I feel like you do,
and I've been there before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Was not my favorite setup. I'll just say that at the risk of getting myself in a lot of trouble. Zoe, the dude in front of me was 6'8" and about 280 pounds.
Sturdy.
He sits down. And I'm 6'3" and some change. Ordinarily, when I go to shows, I'm the guy that's blocking the guy behind me. And I can't do anything about it, right? So I very much know that when I sit at a chair at a venue that I've paid for a ticket for, if there's a woman or a child behind me, I just apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm really sorry, man. Like, this is just bad luck. First time in my life it's ever happened to me. This dude was going 6'8". When I sat down in my chair and he sat down in his, Lonzo, the top of his head was 2-3 inches above mine. I was staring at and he was, he's a big boy, all right? So I sit in the chair. He walks up. He sits down in front of me. And before he finishes sitting down, he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, dude, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's like, I'm always that guy. It's always me. Don't worry about it. And he goes, I know, man. I feel bad, but these were the tickets we got. I'm like, yeah, no worries. And then they came out and started playing. And Zoe, you could not have centered this guy's head to block the lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls more if you tried to, right? So fortunately, everybody stood, and the majority of the show was my fiance and I standing. She was standing in front of me. I was standing directly behind her, both in, and the aisles from end of chair seat to back of seat in front of you were maybe this wide. And we, let's just say lovingly, we both put on some comfort weight since we got engaged. All right. You know, that I'm out the game. Who cares anymore? Weight. We're both she's standing with her legs pressed into the chair in front of her. I'm tucked in behind her because this was the only way we could see around this dude. He was this. You remember Happy Gilmore? You remember the big dude in Happy Gilmore that got the nail driven through his head?
Yes. No.
He was that guy size. And he just goes, I'm so sorry. So, there was nothing we could do about it. I went and I bought my $50 bucket of beer so that I had a couple of sipskis because that was the only way I was making it through that night. Show was phenomenal. The show was great. But what a stroke of bad luck, man.
So we can add really tall people to your list.
No, I love this guy. He was cool. He apologized. He's like, he told me, he's like, I'm going to slouch down as far as I can. And as somebody who has to do that most everywhere I go, at least most like shows I go to, I gotta slouch down to try to not block the people behind me more often than not.
Oh, so that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I'm at a show, I slouch down so I don't block anybody. This guy did the best he could, and his head was still directly in front of me. He apologized. He was super cool about it. He offered to buy me a beer to make up for it. I'm like, dude, no, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. It was not the most comfortable show. Good show.
So I think another question is, if you go to a concert, do you have to see real well to enjoy the concert? Because you're there for the music, right? Or are you there to see the band?
For me as a musician, I like to watch the band play, right? Like, so.
Well, you could see the band. You just couldn't see the lead singer.
Well, I couldn't see a solid 45% of the stage, all right? Because on top of the guy being large and right in front of me, the aisles are really compact. So, like, the back of his head, I'm not joking, was here, right? So,
Rob keeps saying here, and we're on the radio, but we're also on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and X.
Yup.
So you could see what he's talking about that way, which a bunch of you are on there, and thank you.
So anyway, as a musician, like the way we've talked about, if you watch Lonzo watch a show and you didn't know better, you'd think he's just miserable. I'm that way with bands. Because I'm watching the guitarist. I like to watch the styles that different guitarists have. I like to watch the bass player try to prove that he's important and not replaceable by a machine. I like to watch the way the drummer plays fills, yada, yada, yada.
Me too. You'll know I'm having fun at the concert if my leg is moving.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And so, like, the fiance a couple times, she's, like, trying to dance a little bit, and I'm just not. She's like, are you having fun? I'm like, oh, this is great. These guys are incredible. She's like, all right, you're just standing staring. Yeah, it's great. And also that guy's head was large. I got it. I felt him. I'm like, I get it. All right, coming up in the next hour of the show. Texas said, how is OAR not the headliner? I thought Goo Goo Dolls would be the opener. That's from Luke. Not a chance. I love OAR. But the Goo Goo Dolls are not opening for OAR, dude.
I still don't know. I'll have to look up a song from OAR.
I mean, they're good. They had a couple of hits. But no, OAR is not opening for the Goo Goo Dolls, man. Not a chance. Goo Goo Dolls had not plenty. They had like 3 or 4 number ones, man. You're not topping that. Texture said, Lonzo just be saying anything these days. What a take. The floor is winning the division. No wonder he's an Ohio State fan.
Well, okay, what's the point there?
Oh.
Because the floor is the Big Ten championship how's that a crack? Usually but how's that? You'll have to explain to me how that's
Speaking of Ohio State fans, Lonzo's going to be a very happy one when we come back. ESPN has put out their projected percentage opportunity of winning a natty this year, and the Buckeyes got a real good number on the ESPN FPI. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, The Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. That is exactly correct. That's exactly what it was. When he sat down, I was like, oh, This is just bad luck.
I really don't understand that text. You know, I may feign not understanding half
People
the time.
People accuse Ohio State fans of being overly optimistic and unrealistic.
Rob, how many times have they won the Big Ten? How's that being unrealistic? I don't get how that's being unrealistic. The fact that Ryan Day is kind of on a hot seat after making it into the playoffs because he's lost to Michigan twice. How is anything that I'm saying unrealistic? Maybe that's proof I'm an Ohio State fan because I don't get it. Fine. Fine.
Hello, Christopher.
Should I wait till there's a SCBA thing coming up in 8 seconds? I'll dump it. Why, you don't think it works, so it doesn't matter?
No, I have to verify that.
Okay, well, I don't want to.
There's one thing we like to do in here, Chris. It's press buttons.
Dumpage. Why did it only go 3 seconds? That's a good question. It's usually 4.
That was 3. I can math.
Simple math.
It does it dumb.
Chris has approved us taking dumps.
Dumpage happened, bro.
Bro.
You know, I felt like that was a test. You know, I can't be dumping during a paid-for commercial. What are you doing, man? Although I did dump the SCBA, that might be a bad idea. Soon as how we'd like them to hand us a trophy a week and a half from now. We're so close to the hoedown, y'all. I can't wait. I can't wait to talk the entire evening like this. I'm here to win some sort of trophy, please. Make sure you get the good side of my hat when you take my photograph. Thank you.
So I was asking Courtney last night if she wanted to dress up for this thing, right? I'm like, are you gonna theme up dress up? And she said, I will if we can go as Beth and Rip from Yellowstone. And I was like, we can go as Beth and Rip as long as you're good with me being Rip wearing a red sequin jacket. Then you're good. And she's like, are you really wearing that thing? Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, you know, so did she say no?
No, she did not say no. She said, like she knows what she's gotten herself into, but she still has to stare it in the face sometimes, you know?
We don't know yet, James. Oh, we both won awards.
Yeah, we both won an award. We just don't know who won the big award.
Yeah. It's the best 2 shows in the entire state of South Carolina, which makes this the best sports station in the entire state of South Carolina.
Did you see that email?
Yeah, I did.
What excellent timing.
Yeah, I know. I responded to it and said that we would back off from if we're talking about the same thing. We've only pushed it a couple of times. And no one listens to me anyway, so we're good.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM, Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and, of course, around the world for free on the Odyssey app. Welcome in, boys and girls. So good to have you along for the ride. I am, of course, Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass that I can do this, I can get through this,
Yeehaw!
is, of course, the great one himself. Ever so glad to have you guys along for the ride. If you would like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is a wonderful opportunity for you to do it. And you can do it by giving us a buzz on the fan phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. That is the number. You can also shoot us a tweet on the carpros.com text line. The carpros.com text line is 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the show. 71307. Start your text with FAN, and we'll read them on the radio broadcast. You can also I'm still not used to it. You can also X us. Get at us on X at the Rob Brown Show. At Lonzo, one word.
I think you're making it more difficult than what it is, man. Just throw the X our way,
What the X, bro?
We're looking for UX. Sis.
X gonna give it to you. So we have been talking some college football over the last couple of weeks, primarily because of college football conference expansion. But, that's all fun. That's all well and good. What do you say with now just, I think, 2 more weekends before we have a weekend of college football? What do you say we actually talk a little bit of football? ESPN's Football Power Index ranks teams based on a whole bunch of different factors, right? It ranks you on strength of schedule. It ranks you on the strength of your roster, coaching, yada, 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 as Elaine might say. And they have run the college football programs from top to bottom through the FPI to determine who has the best odds to win the national championship this year. Now, according to the ESPN FPI, Lonzo, there are 17 teams that the FPI ranked as having at least a 0.1% chance of winning a national championship this year, okay? 17 teams that registered with a 0.1% opportunity to win a natty or more. Starting at the bottom of the list, the Wisconsin Badgers. They've got Luke Fickell's program in his first year at Wisconsin, coming off of a 7-6 record, with a 1% chance to make the college football playoffs and a 0.1% chance of winning the national. Now, this is interesting. They've got an October 28th matchup against the Buckeyes. This is a crossover game. It is possible they face each other for a second time in the Big Ten championship if they both win their divisions. The schedule for Wisconsin is not a juggernaut. It's not a great schedule. In fact, Ohio State's pretty much it at this point. But it also means when you have an easy schedule, Alonzo, that there is zero margin for error. You lose a game with a schedule like this, you're done. You will have no statement wins unless you beat Ohio State. And if you lose to Ohio State, what are you? You're a bad team that beat bad teams and lost to the one good team. That's why their odds are so low. Again, I think Luke Fickell could absolutely get Wisconsin back to national prominence, but I do not think it happens in year one. Sitting there on that bottom tier rank, TCU, coming off a 13-2 record, a run to the college football national championship, and then an absolute beatdown at the hands of the Georgia Bulldogs. They have a 1.2% chance to make the playoffs and a 0.1% chance to make and win the Natty, according to ESPN. They are 40-1 to make the playoffs. Just to put that in comparison, Lonzo, TCU is 40-1. Wisconsin's 7.5-1. That's a bigger number for TCU. Of course, they have lost Garrett Riley. Nobody gave them a chance last year. They believe that they can be that same team. It will take a Big 12 title to get there without a doubt. It will take beating Texas on November 11th, which they did last year, but everybody thinks Texas is back this year. It's because of Quinn.
Yeah. Quinn Ewers. Yeah. Ewers.
They're going to have to win a Big 12 title to get themselves in. But I don't see it happening. Right above them, how about Tennessee out of the SEC? They have double TCU's chances to make the playoffs with 2.5%.
With all the hype I've heard lately, and for the last 10 years.
You mean all the hype-ble? I'm good at this job.
No, that was really
so good at this job.
I'm pretty. Is that like a dad joke? I know you're not.
100%.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. I still
100%.
Still trying to recognize what a dad joke is. But with all the hype that I've heard about this, I thought they'd be higher.
They have, according to ESPN's FBI, a 2.5% chance to make the playoff. They have a 0.2% chance of winning the national championship. Josh Heupel has got this team trending up. We saw that last year when they were flirting with number one. That is, of course, until the Gamecocks demolished them in Columbia, and it was all downhill after the loss of Hendon Hooker. But here's the reality. Tennessee gets both Alabama and Georgia in the regular season this year. If they can win both of those games, they are absolutely
I was going to say,
a playoff team.
You want to prove to me you're back and Tennessee is where everyone is hyping them to be? You win those two games, I'll shut up about Tennessee.
I agree. That being said, I don't think you're going to have to shut up about Tennessee because this is the same Tennessee team that could not beat Georgia last year. And granted, Georgia's team last year was really good, and they've got a couple of spots to reload, but they couldn't beat Georgia last year with Hendon Hooker, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. They had him, and they couldn't get it done. Listen, I am pulling for big things for Joe Milton. I really am. Predominantly because everybody's saying he can't do it. I will always pull for a guy who gets told you can't do it to go out and do it. That being said, I'm not putting any money on him to do it, on them to do it. They've got games against Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia. They got a rough shod schedule. But if they go 0-2 against Alabama and Georgia, they can't. And that's why that number is so low. Above Tennessee, ladies and gentlemen, the Utah Utes. I don't know why you name a team after a bunch of kids, but the Utes.
Well, kids play on the team. So, it's just saying this is, right.
3.9% chance to make the playoff, a 0.2% chance to win the Natty. They're 12-1 in Vegas. Now, keep in mind, this is a Utah team that if they win the Pac-12 this year, it would be their third consecutive Pac-12 title. There's something to be said for that. Keep in mind that they have got a quarterback, Lonzo, that in my opinion has the best name of any quarterback in college football this year, Cam Rising. That's a great name. Should change it to Tara.
Or Mojo.
I like it. Problem is the Utes have been wildly inconsistent in the regular season. Now, October 21st, they got a matchup against USC. One of the final ones, probably the final one that they have, the final one as a conference game. Obviously, that is that's a big task for Utah to get that spot, especially considering you're going to hear USC's name again when we get to the top of this list. If Utah's going to get there, it's because they have not one but two Power 5 non-conference opponents. One of the problems, however, is that both of them are expected to be, not that great. One of them is Baylor. One of them is Florida. A Florida that has a Vegas over-under win total set at 5.5. It's not a great look. But if they get both of them done and run through the Pac-12, it's a possibility. Cam Rising's got the potential. This one surprised me that it's this low. Florida State is on this list. Florida State is projected with a 4.4% chance to make the playoff and a 0.3% chance to win the national championship. They are 375, plus 375 in Vegas to make the playoff. FSU should have a higher number than this. Okay. And I'm not saying that just because I feel. Heather Dinich has said it. Pete Thamel has said it. A lot of ESPN writers are like, no, these are bad numbers.
Well, it's because a good portion of people believe, as I do, that Clemson is the ACC. So if Florida State beats Clemson, well, they're probably in, as long as they're undefeated. Because the winner,
they got LSU in front. Remember,
yeah,
Week 1's LSU.
So it is a possibility. At least they're on the list, though.
They are on the list, and on the list ahead of a couple of other decent teams. They've got obviously that September 23rd matchup against Clemson. The Noles are 0-7 against Clemson since 2015. Their last win in Death Valley was 2013. Do you remember what the Noles did that year? They won the national championship. So there's something to be said there. The good news for FSU is the schedule is somewhere in the middle. The good news is if they do go 12-0 or 11-1, their statement wins will be outside of Tallahassee. They got LSU in Orlando. They got Clemson in Death Valley. Those are statement wins, but they've got to go 2-0 against the SEC, LSU and Florida. I don't know that you're getting in at 11-1 out of the ACC this year unless you're Clemson, who gets style points for being a dynasty. Ahead of Florida State, they got Oregon. Oregon coming off a 10-3 season. They actually have Oregon with better odds to make the playoffs than Florida State, but lesser odds to win the national championship. A 4.9% chance to make the playoff, a 0.2% chance to win the Natty. This one is very interesting. Oregon on this list. Oregon's on this list. Washington is not. Washington and Oregon have almost the same schedule, and they play each other in this one. Now, Oregon's got a really interesting road slate this year. Week 2, they got to go to Texas Tech. That's a sneaky Big 12 contender this year. It's not like it was when they played Georgia, but it's not a bad spot. A Red Raiders win. They got to go to Washington. They got to go to Utah. These are all teams that people consider dark horses to win conferences and make it into the dance. But they got to do that, and they got to finish. Right ahead of Oregon, they've got Penn State, Lonzo, with a 10.7% chance to make the playoffs and a 1% chance to win the Natty. Now, I'm going to say this.
I'm curious about, you keep saying that the ACC is as good in the middle and lower as the Big Ten. So I'm curious about how many ACC versus Big Ten teams are on this list.
There are 2 ACC teams and 3 Big Ten teams.
Okay, I win.
This is one. Michigan and Ohio State are both there. But as I've said,
I win.
And I said last week when we were in Charlotte, the Big Ten's better at the top. I'm not disagreeing. The Big Ten is better at the top. Hit me with teams 4 through the bottom, and then let's chat. But again, we'll see at the end of football season.
Next year at this time, if we're talking about the same thing, it's going to be a totally different kind of list because
that is also true.
The 12-team playoff.
Also true. Penn State. October 21st, they are at Ohio State. And Penn State is going to be interesting because this is considered one of the more complete teams. There's not a ton of breakout stars like there are with Ohio State, like there are with Michigan, but they are a very deep team all the way across the board. The problem Penn State's going to have is the non-conference schedule is bad.
Well, and the thing is, playing Penn State as an Ohio State fan, you always want to play them at home because that whiteout, I don't know why.
It is the only color out in college football that I like.
It's so weird. Why should that affect you? But it does. It does.
Every season when somebody hits the whiteout, it's a wild game. The fans just eat it alive. I don't like color outs except Penn State. They're the only one that does it right. Right above Penn State, they've got Oklahoma. We're doing this again? Off a 6-7 record, 10.7% chance to make the playoff, a 1% chance to win the Natty. They got blanked 49-0 to Texas last year. I am absolutely in agreement that Oklahoma should have higher expectations than a 7-6 or excuse me, a 6-7 record this year. But
Who's the coach of them?
Brent Venables, former Clemson defensive coordinator. I see what you did there. See what you did there.
I turned the volume down a little bit because he's like, you know, he's not fully there.
It's much better that way.
But he's gonna be back like after this year.
Oklahoma's going to have to win the Red River rivalry. They're going to have to win the state title by beating both by beating Tulsa and Oklahoma State. Both of those games are on the road. They've also got to beat SMU, Texas, and TCU. That's just too many games to expect a team with too much turnover the last 2 years to get done. No chance for the Boomer Sooners this year. Sorry. Just not.
Before Brent got there, though,
were close.
The chances would have been a lot better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams there, those numbers would have been much higher. I do not understand Oklahoma has a 10% chance to make it. Penn State has a 10% chance. You're telling me Florida State has a 4.4%, but Oklahoma, off a losing record and not a lot of upgrades for Brent Venables, has a double the chance to make the playoff over FSU?
If you're a Tennessee fan, you should be mad too. I think Tennessee should be above them for sure.
I'm fine with Tennessee because they have Georgia and Alabama in the regular season. And both of those teams not only can beat Tennessee, but can beat up Tennessee to make them in danger of trap games later. Oklahoma's schedule is significantly easier than Tennessee's. That's why they get some hype, but this much is ridiculous. Right above them, they've got Notre Dame, a 9-4 season last year with a 15.8% chance to make the playoffs, but just a 1.6% chance to win the Natty. I think this is a little bit of a stretch. They do have Ohio State on the schedule. Last year, Ohio State beat them 21-10. Now, it was considered respectable because it was Marcus Freeman's first game he gets thrown in with a playoff team. And I thought he held his own for about 3 quarters before Ohio State kind of busted that thing open. But they're going to catch them early in the season again this year. Now, the good news is they've got the opportunity to beat a couple of reigning Power 5 conference champions this year. They got Ohio State, they've got Clemson, and they've got USC, all 3 in one season. If Ohio State walks out of this schedule 11-1, Lonzo, there's about 8 teams that could go 12-0, and I would put Notre Dame ahead of them.
Stop with that one thing.
Again.
Because I know who you're picking as your one.
You guys.
No,
the
you
only
said,
team
you,
I picked to beat Notre Dame this year is Ohio State. If you ask me out of those three.
Okay, so you said if Ohio State walks
Sorry,
out.
if Notre Dame.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
My bad.
Okay.
If Notre Dame walks out of Notre Dame's schedule 11-1, there are about 4 to 5 of these teams that could go 12-0, and I would put Notre Dame ahead of them.
If I'm going to get labeled that guy, that Ohio State guy, I'm just going to do it, man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
LSU checks in next at coming off a 10-4 record. FPI says they have a 23.7% chance to win the playoff and a 4% chance to win the Natty.
I'm so mad right now because I keep forgetting to get family.
Family.
I got to get that. I got to find
I'm
it.
down here to be in Baton Rouge with my Tiger family. Like, dude, no, only Ed Ogeron gets funny voice in Baton Rouge, dude. Anyway, I'm Tiger, 23.7% made the playoffs and then a 4.1% chance to win the national championship. Go Tigers. Love me some Edo. Anyway, I am going to say this one is very interesting. Why? LSU, under Brian Kelly, are going to have their best team so far. They do not have to play Tennessee. They do catch Alabama November 4th, and that one is at Alabama as well. It is going to require LSU to beat Florida State in week 1. Remember how good that game was last year? Both of these teams are better this year. That's not a guarantee for LSU or FSU. That's a 50% chance, right? But if they win that, and they beat Mississippi State, and they beat Alabama, all 3 road games, by the way, because while it is a neutral site game against FSU in week 1, it's in Orlando. The Noles are gonna travel well to that. It's gonna be a 50% game, but it is a road game. If LSU can knock off Florida State, Mississippi State, and Alabama and get all 3 road wins, they should be undefeated at home. They really should. And keep in mind, if, and this is a big fat if, underlies, capitalized, bold, and italicized, if FSU does snipe Clemson and steal the ACC, that would mean LSU adds a conference champion victory to their banner. It's a big ask, but I see why they're there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, right ahead of LSU with the odds to make the playoffs. Tell you when we come back because we got to run to a break. Also going to tell you that coming up later in the show, we have got a pair of tickets to All Elite Wrestling's Saturday Night Collision to give away. Do we do it this hour? Do we do it next hour? Do we do it at the end of the show? I don't know. You'll just have to stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show. We finish this list next on the Fan Upstate.
We'll be back because I got a thing to do. Well,
Okay, yeah.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post the job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hey, Rob Bradford here. I have set out on a mission with my good friend at FanDuel to prove what I have known for some time. Baseball isn't boring. Now I have a daily podcast to prove it with some of the most notable people in the baseball world, screaming baseball isn't boring from the mountaintops, or at least agreeing to come on our show. Players, managers, GMs, and yes, even the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. It has been a constant wave of baseball, both powerful voices. So join the revolution. Subscribe and soak in Baseball Isn't Boring. Listen on your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.
Join the revolution.
Mad World Haunted Attraction is back and bigger than ever. Don't miss the largest ticket sale of the season. Friday, August 18th, when all tickets will be 35% off. Explore your way through the elaborate haunted house trail. Play our 18-hole ghost town mini golf, axe throwing, and carnival games. Enjoy food, bonfire, roaming characters, and fun for the whole family. 35% off all tickets for one day only. Friday, August 18th. Tickets are valid for any day we're open. Save big online at madworldattractions.com.
A tradition of mine is to pick up at least one new college polo each year, and I'm always trying to find something that nobody else has. If you're a Clemson or South Carolina fan, let me tell you, Smith & James has the nicest looking team gear you've seen. It's fresh and unique, and you don't have to worry about everyone else having your shirts. Better yet, people will be asking you where you got it. How do we know? Because we're wearing Smith & James, and they're asking us. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com and stop by their stores in downtown Greer and on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
Sponsored by Tire Rack. Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show, it's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan. BetMGM Tonight is a red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. And the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more with hosts Quentin Mayo, Trista Crick, and Ryan Horvath. Real-time, relevant sports wagertainment tonight at 7. BetMGM Tonight, exclusively on the Fan and on the Odyssey app. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah, I saw that, Keegan.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. We are glad to have you along for the ride. 844-326-3663. That's the number to get on the air with us, talking a little college football in this hour of the show. Text us on the carpros.com text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. Texter said, who has a weaker schedule between Wisconsin and Georgia? Wisconsin's schedule shapes up like this. On the 2nd, they open up against the Buffalo Bulls at home. It's a good thing. Josh Allen came down. He'd hang 90 on him. Then they're at Washington State, back home for Georgia Southern, at Purdue. Then the bye week on the 30th. Then on October 7th, they are home against Rutgers. They are home against Iowa. They're on the road at Illinois, and then back home for Ohio State. Then at Indiana, back home for Northwestern, back home for Nebraska, and then at Minnesota. Georgia's shapes up this way, and boy, howdy, is this a good schedule for the Dogs. They have got an opener on the 2nd against UT Martin. They should win that by 100. Then Ball State, then the Gamecocks. Their first SEC competition comes in week 3. Love you, Gamecocks. Georgia by 40.
By 40?
It's going to be bad.
By 40?
By 40.
By 40?
Yep. We are going to test the mental aptitude of the Gamecocks in week 3.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't buy that. We'll see.
We will, and we'll talk about it more. Then they're back home for UAB. They're on the road at Auburn. That's an interesting game. That's the rivalry game, the South's oldest rivalry. That one could be fun because Auburn's going to be better, I think, this year. Do I think they're good enough to beat Georgia? No. But do I think they're good enough to pull a shock upset if Georgia's not on their A game? Absolutely, at Jordan-Hare. Then they've got Kentucky. Hey, that's a top 25 team, are the Kentucky Wildcats, right? Good news is that's in Athens. Then they're at Vandy. They got the week off before they go down to Jacksonville for Florida.
Wait. Did you just pretend like Georgia's going to struggle with Kentucky?
No, I didn't. I said
Kentucky's
a top 25 team. I am looking for reasons to ding Georgia. There just are none.
Okay.
All right. Kentucky at Vandy, Jacksonville against Florida. Then they're back home for Mizzou, back home for Ole Miss, a top 25 team. Then the only spot on this schedule that could end up tripping up Georgia is November 18th when they are at Tennessee. That's at Neyland Stadium. Then they're back home for Georgia Tech. Yes, it is. Tennessee's honestly, there are 2 teams that could trip up Georgia and pull a shocking upset. South Carolina, if that was in Columbia, I'd feel better about it, but I don't see it happening. And then Tennessee on the road at Neyland. That really, to me, is the only game that the Dogs could lose. And they're back on the road at Georgia Tech at Bobby Dodd, followed a week later by the SEC Championship. Who's got the easier schedule? Honestly, the answer might be Georgia. I'm going to say Wisconsin just because I want to give a little credit to Ole Miss and Kentucky. But Wisconsin does have Ohio State tossed in the middle, which is better than anybody Georgia's going to play. So, all right. We ran you up ESPN FPI's college football playoff probability list. We ended with LSU with a 23.7% chance to make the playoffs. Just ahead of them, the Clemson Tigers. Clemson, send all hate mail courtesy of Lonzo.
I ain't afraid.
Clemson has, according to the ESPN FPI, a 24.2% chance to make the playoffs with a 2.8% chance to win the national championship. They are plus 360 to make the playoff in Vegas.
Only a 2%? Did you say 2%?
2.8% chance to win the Natty.
Okay.
But a 24.2% chance to make the playoffs. Now, why is that? Well, they can make another ACC championship game. They can win their 8th ACC championship game in the last 9 seasons if they were to get there. But it all comes down, in my opinion, though, to that September 23rd home contest against the Seminoles of Florida State. If FSU comes to Death Valley and wins that game, these numbers for Clemson will drop dramatically, and those percentage points will go down to Tallahassee.
There's another reason why those percentage points are so low.
Do have the Gamecocks at the end.
I don't know. I don't know if you knew this or not. Maybe not. But South Carolina beat Clemson last year.
I love that you can hear Lonzo smiling.
I don't. Well, or you could see it. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X. You could see it.
That's true.
It is. It's a wide smile.
Search the Fan Upstate.
You don't see it very often on my face unless I'm doing this show or another show.
True.
You know, other times when I'm just walking around, I just don't smile.
He doesn't. He's terrifying. Obviously, the big test on the schedule is that September 23rd matchup against Heisman hopeful quarterback Jordan Travis and the Seminoles of Florida State, who will already have one big-time contest under their belt because of that LSU game in week number 1. On the flip side, by the time Clemson and FSU get together, Clemson will have played Duke, Charleston Southern, and FAU. So not a lot of iron to sharpen iron for Clemson before FSU, who will have played LSU. But that being said, FSU could be 2-1 at that point.
All I can say is at that point, there'll be a lot of handoffs.
We'll find out.
An awful lot of handoffs.
If Clemson knocks off FSU, Notre Dame, and South Carolina and goes 3-0 in those games, they will be a college football playoff championship team this year. All right? They will be a playoff team because as much as I like the rest of the SEC to be the best it's been in a long time, the best it's been does not mean that Clemson still isn't the best. Now, we had Don Munson, the voice of the Tigers, on the show last week live from ACC Media Days. And he and I circled the same game on the calendar as the trip-up game, and that is at Syracuse on the 30th of September. Why? They'll be coming off that FSU game. Either they'll already have an L in hand and the mentality of the team will be in question, or they will have won that game, but we both suspect it's going to take a lot out of Clemson to win the game. It'll take a lot out of FSU to win that game as well. Whoever wins that game is going to be physically exhausted. And weird things happen when Los Tigres find their way up to New York to take on Syracuse.
Just because you say it in Spanish doesn't mean it's not. I mean, you know.
El Meow. They got to go, they're back home for Wake, then the week off. Then they're at Miami and at NC State. That's another interesting back-to-back road games hurdle in there for Clemson. And then they do play number 21 North Carolina back home the week before they go to Columbia and Willie B. There are 3 2-game spots on this schedule that I have concern for Clemson. Florida State and then at Syracuse. At Miami, at NC State, because they're both road games, and then North Carolina, South Carolina, back-to-back to end the season. There is potential for 2 or 3 losses in that run for Clemson. But if they win all of them, this team's a playoff team. 24% chance to win the playoff, 2.8% chance to win the Natty. So who's above them? USC. USC has a 24.7% chance to make the playoffs and a
Wait,
2.7%
you
chance
talking
to win the Natty.
You're talking about Southern Cal, right?
That is the one.
Okay.
That is the one.
Just for clarification.
Southern Cal has Caleb Williams coming back, a Heisman Trophy winner. Lincoln Riley was considered the hottest name in college football coaching outside of Kirby Smart for a hot minute there. They get Utah, Washington, and UCLA. Their 3 toughest games all at home this year. The toughest test they've got to go through, Lonzo, is they got to go to Washington. They didn't play them last year. The Huskies are going to be decent this year. If they can win that game, USC is a playoff team. They're going to put up a lot of points this year. This team's going to average north of 42 points per game this year. They're going to score a lot.
They might want to do it now because, going forward.
You're not wrong. Now, the question's going to be, the only question to me for USC is going to be the Pac-12 championship game, which, remember, gets played on a Friday night. It has the sole attention of the nation. Everybody's tuned into that one. And USC, as well as some other Pac-12 favorites, have laid eggs in those games. Above USC, they got Michigan. And this is where it gets interesting. All of these teams have a 25.9% or better chance probability to make the college football playoffs, according to ESPN. Michigan, of course, coming off a 13-1 year last year. They are returning a bulk of their experience. In fact, a lot of the writers that chimed in on this have said they believe Michigan has a better chance to be a playoff team and a natty contender than the Buckeyes of Ohio State. That's interesting because what we'll get to here in a second. Michigan brings J.J. McCarthy back. They bring Blake Corum back and healthy. Donovan Edwards. They are going to be able to run the hell out of the football this year. The problem for Michigan is they catch both Penn State and Ohio State in this schedule. Both of those interesting, but the Nittany Lions have home field advantage in this one. Hey, Zoe, do you want to venture a guess on what game Penn State brings the whiteout for?
I would say it will probably be that one.
I would say it would probably be that one.
There's also this thing where their coach is mired in controversy.
Sure is.
And will that affect how the team plays?
It looks like the popular thought right now is that Michigan is going to see their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, catch a 4-game suspension for lying to the NCAA. He says he did not, that he was misguided and some of his quotes were out of context. NCAA is not going to care. But do you want to know why it's a 4-game suspension and not 5 or 6 or 3? Here's why, Alonzo. First 4 games for Michigan, all at home against ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. Then week 5, they go on the road to see Matt Rule and the Cornhuskers, followed by a trip up to Huntington Bank Stadium to take on Minnesota.
This is your year, Rutgers. Don't let me down.
Don't let me down. Rutgers. That's why it's a 4-game suspension. Because the first 4 games are all at home against not great teams. Here's one that's very interesting, Lonzo, because I think people are falling into the trap. Ahead of Michigan, the Texas Longhorns. FBI says they have a better than 1 in 3% chance, 34.2% chance to make the playoff and a 5.7% chance to win the Natty. Why are we doing this again for the Dallas Longhorns? I mean the University of Texas Cowboys. I mean the Texas Longhorns.
Well, obviously it's because there's a Manning on the bench.
This is overconfident. This is the most overconfident. This is the most overconfidence on this list, and I haven't even gotten to where Ohio State is yet. Okay? They are at Alabama September 9th. Now, the rest of the schedule is pretty favorable for the Longhorns. If they win this roadie at Alabama, they got a real good chance to make the playoffs, even if they don't win the Big 12. Now, if they don't win the Big 12, those odds are going to drop. But if they beat Bama on the road and win the Big 12, they're absolutely a playoff team. Here's the problem. The Texas Longhorns seem to always find a dumb game somewhere to drop. They just do. They lost to Alabama last year, Lonzo, at home by a single point. They're good enough to beat the Crimson Tide. But they lost 41-34 to Oklahoma State last year. They lost to TCU last year. They lost to Washington in the bowl game. all respectable teams, but don't tell me Texas has a 34% chance to make the playoffs. 34%? It's a little high for me. Right above them, Lonzo, with a 62.1% chance to make the playoffs and a 20.4% chance to make and win the Natty, the University of Alabama. And I like this spot for Alabama. It's not too high. They're not ahead of Georgia. They're not ahead of Ohio State, but they are still well ahead of the Longhorns. Toughest game on that schedule is up for debate. ESPN argues that it is that Texas game at home.
Hey, you remember when Alabama was always number one?
Sure do. Wasn't that long ago, was it?
It wasn't.
Alabama on the schedule has Texas. Outside of that, they're at Texas A&M. I do not believe in Texas A&M. I don't believe in Jimbo Fisher. Don't then, don't now. But they've got Tennessee coming to the house. They've got LSU coming to the house. And they've got to go to Jordan-Hare. You know, and the Iron Bowl is weird, right? I don't hate this spot for Alabama. I think they're being credited for a decent schedule, but they got to beat Texas to get there. Right ahead of them, they've got the Georgia Bulldogs not in first place, Lonzo. Georgia with a 63% chance to make the playoffs. That is higher than Alabama, and a 19.1% chance to win the Natty. That is lower than Alabama, which I find very interesting. Keep in mind, these two teams are likely the two teams that will be the last ever to meet up in an East v. West SEC championship game. That being said, explain to me while Georgia, playing out of the SEC East, has lesser odds, Lonzo, than Alabama, who plays out of the West, where A&M and LSU are both playing.
Well, maybe they believe the hype in Tennessee or something like that. And who's the quarterback for Georgia?
Yup.
That might have something to do with it. Although you could ask the same thing about the number one team, but you know,
you could also ask that about Alabama. It's not unfair. So a lot of questions at the top. I don't see how Alabama has better odds to win the Natty than Georgia. And then Lonzo at number one with an 82.2% chance to make the playoffs and a 36.7% chance to win the national championship are the Buckeyes of Ohio State.
Yeah! Yeah!
Ohio State, an 82% chance to make the playoff. A 36, 3 points better.
This is going to shock you.
1 in 3.
But why?
Well, let's take a look.
Because there's still uncertainty about their quarterback also.
Sure is.
So is it just because of Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is he the reason?
That's a big part of the reason, I'm sure. At Indiana, back home for Youngstown State, the Penguins, and then Western Kentucky at home. And then test number 1 on the road in South Bend, Indiana, to take on the Irish of Notre Dame. The Irish are going to be better. Ohio State's still going to be the better team. Back home for Maryland, on the road at Purdue. Back home for Penn State, then at Wisconsin. That Wisconsin game is a trap game. If you put all your emotion into Penn State and then don't pay attention on the road at Wisconsin, they can snipe you. And then, of course, you end the year in Ann Arbor this year. That right there, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin, sets of trap games, is the reason I'm fine with them having a higher make the playoff percentage odd than a lot of people. I'm not fine with a 36.7. Now, that being said, if Ohio State makes the playoffs, they're as good a pick as anybody else to win the Natty, right? And I think their 36.7% chance to win the Natty is because of their almost 83% chance of making the playoffs. If they get in, they can do it. They almost did it last year, Lonzo.
Stinking kicker, man. God.
Almost did it last year.
Worst kick in the history of mankind.
So, whose odds are too high? Whose odds are too low? Your thoughts are welcome. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Coming up, recap of MLB trade deadline. This whole debate going on inside of U.S. soccer, roster building in the age of attention-seeking athletes, and more on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I had intended to give tickets away there, but oh well.
We'll do it next hour.
My need to pee is more important.
Fair enough.
At least it's not important. But yeah, it is.
It could be messy. All right, guys, I'm going to grab a water. You guys hang out. I'll be back in 13 seconds. It's going to be longer than 13 seconds. That's a metaphor. Stick around.
In Atlanta, the Braves beat the Angels 5-1 Tuesday. Michael Harris ended a homer drought with 2 blasts, including a go-ahead shot in the 5th. Spencer Strider gave up 1 run over 6 2/3. It was his first win since July the 8th. 9 strikeouts in the victory. Harris hit his first homer since July the 3rd, lining an 0-2 pitch from Patrick Sandoval, 445 feet to right field with 1 out in the 5th. Atlanta's lead atop the National League East is 11 games over Philadelphia. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
You have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou.
All right, it was 1 minute.
Familiar with your problems, and if you're
Nailed it.
60 years old and in reasonably good health,
Anyone whose name is not Georgia or Bama has their percentage too high. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem.
It just means more to that person.
That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou.
You know, it's hard to not be a conference guy when so many people are conference guys. And in order to defend yourself, you have to defend the entire conference, unfortunately.
I never got into
Unless you're Clemson, then you don't have to do that because, you know. You never know, Luke. You never know.
Yeah, you. This is your dentist. Do me a favor and feel the front of your teeth. How grimy are
It could be like a guy down the hall whose nickname is Mothman who might throw a flying elbow around the corner. We've got some hidden corners. I mean, you know.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands.
I really did intend to give away the tickets that hour because we keep doing it in the 11 o'clock hour. And, you know,
we'll do it at the end of this segment.
It's too hard for me to do that at the top of the hour with the transition and with the podcast and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I can't, but I would rather not.
That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Granger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile.
By the way, I don't really need to make an excuse for it, but when we broke the news about the Elite earlier, that was broken by Sports Illustrated. So, you know, forgot to mention that.
Because wrestling is big time.
It is.
Like Roman Reigns on ESPN yesterday for 2 segments and Paul Heyman being freaking hilarious.
Offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need.
I say that as a Clemson fan, definitely not a conference guy. And the second Mothman shirt compliment. Outstanding.
I often
is
get
that from Fallout, or is that
it's from Fallout 76, but it's about you can go to the Mothman Museum, which is an actual place in the game, because they always set their stuff in real world places. So, and in the game, you do not, especially if you're at a low level, you do not want to see the Mothman because you will die.
All right, wrapping up this hour of the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Robin, Lonzo, and you, the NFL and Nickelodeon are coming for your kids, ladies and gentlemen. There's an agenda out there as they announced that this year's Super Bowl will have a Nickelodeon broadcast. They've been doing this the last couple of years on some different games. The Nickelodeon broadcast effectively kid friendlies an NFL game. They do stuff like turn the uprights into SpongeBob SquarePants and put CGI slime on the field when players score. They will have the voice actors of different characters come in and pretend to be those characters on the play-by-play. Like, it's been some kind of interesting stuff. But look, in the age of influencers, you have two options. You can figure out how to create and distribute content that gets more eyeballs and, as gross as it feels to say, a younger audience constantly rotating in to replace the older audience. Or you can die. Not literally, metaphorically die. Your product can die.
Hey, man, what are you doing?
You either find a way to get new people and new eyeballs on your product. Stagnation is death in the way that this game gets played.
I have watched some of these broadcasts, and they are fairly entertaining. They really are.
They're good.
Yeah.
For a kid, they're good.
Except for I'm always disappointed that the slime is usually virtual. I want real slime on the field.
I don't think the NFL is going to do that, but I get it.
If they really want to commit, I mean,
now if they wanted to do like a spin-off kind of Pro Bowl-esque all-star flag football game that they let Nickelodeon run, I could see how that would work. Here's what I'll tell you I truly love about these. I got to watch one of these games with my nephew last season. And the fun part about these games is the Noah Eagle, the son of Ian Eagle, who is the play-by-play guy on these games. I think they had Nate Burleson in there with him on color. The interesting thing is they tell you what's happening, right? They tell you what's happening. They call play-by-play, but they break it down to much more kid-friendly stuff, right? That guy over there, he's the left tackle. And his job is to, and if you watch here, he's going to do this. And then when there's injuries and stuff, they don't do replays of them. They don't go too deep into them. They're constantly keeping attention, and I love it because it's an opportunity for the kids to have a reason to pay attention when football can be boring, right? Somebody did the math, and I might do it one game this year, but somebody did the math where they actually hit the clock from the moment a ball was snapped until the moment the whistle was blown, and over a full hour of game clock, they actually play football for like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's why.
The ball's in play for 2.5 minutes.
That's why there are some games, if I record them, I can skip.
Yep.
I mean, you can hit that 30-second skip on your remote.
And not miss a thing.
No, don't miss anything.
Now, if you really love football, you know that football is as much played between the snaps as it is during, right? It's alignments and it's setups and it's play calling, and that's all interesting. But if you're 5, you probably don't care. So you watch this game with my 5-year-old nephew, and they do stuff between the snaps to make it entertaining, and it encourages him to ask me questions about football that I can answer. Texter said, the Panthers are perfect for a Nick at Night matchup. They already have a relatable child-sized quarterback starting this year. Arizona called. Let's take a break. We'll come back after this. The third hour is going to be all over the map on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
It's insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you could save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. The Astros had themselves a Tuesday, reuniting with Justin Verlander through that deadline deal with the Mets, and then this.
Here's the 0-2 to Gallagher. Broken bat, soft liner. Payton catches it, and a no-hitter. Robert Valdez.
Robert Ford on Astros radio. Valdez with the 16th no-hitter in franchise history. He faced the minimum, his lone walk erased by a double play. 2-0 final over the Guardians in Houston. The Rangers did beat the White Sox by that same score, so Texas keeps its half-game lead on Houston atop the AL West. Rams receiver Cooper Kupp reportedly missed multiple weeks after hurting a hamstring at training camp yesterday. As expected, Sweden took care of Argentina overnight 2-0 to win its group of the Women's World Cup.
By the way, my favorite shirt to wear during football season is anything that says Ohio State because it makes people around here angry.
It makes people around the South angry.
Including this old man walked up to my wife and was like, "Why are you wearing that?" She's like, "Well, I live there." Well, how long have you lived here? Well, you should wear a different shirt. She's like, "Yeah." She's just as big of a fan, if not a bigger fan than me. So he picked the wrong fight. Hey, in the end, root for your team, man. But if you root for your team, you're going to have to deal with people who don't. But I don't, if I see someone wearing a Michigan jersey, I don't go up and go, "Hey, why are you wearing that here?" I don't care. Wear it.
Why are you wearing that?
I mean, I'm not offended by your jersey because you're rooting for your team.
As of right now, Steven, it should be August 19th. So we are staring down the barrel of a little over, 2 weeks and a couple days. That is a Saturday night, and that's going to be interesting because I have to do Bet for the Cycle, then drive to Hoch, North Carolina, which is north of Charlotte.
Reportedly. He's looking it up again because he's not
Because I forgot.
entirely
It is a...
Sure it's not Hugh?
No,
How's it
I'm not.
spelled?
Hough.
It might be Hugh.
It might be. It also might be Hoch.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
It's a 2-hour drive, which means that I will have to probably take off the last hour of Bet for the Cycle, leave at 3. That puts me there at 5, gives me 2 hours to get set up.
Wait, you said that's a Saturday game? I got to remember
The
that.
19th is a Saturday.
I got
It's the only Saturday game.
Well, let me. I got to make sure I check the schedule because I may have put that on the Friday.
Yeah.
Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold.
Because I would hate to not have someone here to work that game. That would be that'd be bad. What time is the game again?
Hang on, I'll tell you.
Sorry, I'm asking a hard questions.
I'm frustrated that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, you're doing a show. I mean, there's that. With someone who's
That
very
game
distracting.
is slated for 7 p.m.
Okay, so yeah.
we would go live at
Yeah, that would pose a problem for me if so. Yeah, I'll make sure that I double check my schedule. Yeah, it's about to be busy time around here.
Step 1, grab the caramel fudge cheesecake blizzard from DQ. Step 2, break out your fanciest sweatpants and park yourself in your comfiest chair. Step 3, kick back and bask in the luxury of salted caramel, rich fudge, and decadent cheesecake.
For your sake, I hope that press box is air conditioned. in wherever that.
There's a couple I've been at that are not only air conditioned, and one of them, I'm not going to name the school, but it is my fiance's alum, that the Wayside press box is a cinder block box with one window in the front.
Yeah, I think I know where it is. That's where we sell spiders in the bathroom, and they have chains on the toilet paper.
Yes. Dude, I walked in that press box and I'm like, Sam, you want to just call this game from the bleachers?
You should have went up on the roof.
Can't. There's no ladder up there.
Remember being asked to put the mic on the roof at Burns just to see if I could make it through the window. I knew that's what they were doing. Have you been up on the roof on there? It's a smaller ladder thing. No one thought I could do it. I did it though.
Well, Burns has the roof, and the ladder to get up there is that wide.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They
Yeah.
didn't think I could do it because I was larger.
The difference between I can and I want to is great.
Yeah, well, that's true.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show goes now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Great to have you. I am Rob Brown, the great Lonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass this morning. If you would like to join the radio broadcast, you can do it now at 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663.
It's football. It's football season, Rob.
It is, dude.
Look, we already got people talking stuff about their high school on the stream right now.
Steven asked, is it 2 or 3 weeks until Rob Brown returns as the voice of the Burns Rebels football team? To which I said it's a little over 2. The 19th of August, it is a Saturday when Burns travels up to North Carolina to take on either Hugh High School or Hope High School.
Let's go with that.
3rd and 4 for the Burns Rebels down on the 20-yard line. Shotgun. 2 receivers split to the right side. Hawk defender stepping up in man coverage. It's going to be great, man. Can't wait. Can't wait.
If you are an alum, just give Rob the business right now and tell us how to say your name because we're curious.
I got to get a little play-by-play practice in between now and the 19th. Anyway, Steven asked, I answered, and then Steven hit me back with, not that it matters when Burns plays because Dorman is winning the region. And then Richard jumped in and immediately said, Gaffney easy.
I remember a time not too long ago when the best football played in the state of South Carolina was in the upstate of South Carolina. Can we bring that back? Can we bring that back? Can we go, we don't know who's going to win because all these teams are so good. Can we do that, people?
Here's hoping. I will also tell you that we will go next week, either Thursday or Friday, and then the following week, which is week 0 in high school football, we will get Kevin and the boys, Kevin and John, and the boys from the Moving the Chains podcast back in. If you're not following them, at Moving Chains on Twitter and Facebook, I've in the years I've been doing this, I've never met anybody who's more dialed in to high school football in such a large area, man. They cover high school football across the entire state.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yes. All right, let's get some other stuff, shall we? Let's get into some stuff. Let's start with this. We played earlier in the week. A couple of comments from Carli Lloyd, former U.S. women's soccer star. And Carli popped off. She was not happy after the game against Portugal where the Americans had a miracle in the best Portuguese effort, which absolutely shoulda, coulda, woulda been a goal, bounced off the post, ricocheted out, and the Americans survived a 0-0 draw and advanced into the knockout phase at the cost of the Portuguese. After the game was over, the girls were celebrating like a lot. And Carli was not thrilled about it. She said, hey, look, we've gotten to a point where the culture inside of American soccer is toxic, and it is no longer about winning. It is more about the benefits that come along with winning. And this one's very interesting. I'm going to go to clip 5 here, if you don't mind. Great one. This is Vlatko Andonovski. He is the manager of the U.S. women's national team. And at his press conference yesterday, as the Americans learned that they would be taking on Sweden, one of their biggest and best rivals, in Sunday a.m., 5 a.m., if you're keeping track, in the elimination game. Vlatko Andonovski was asked about the comments of Carli Lloyd, and he responded like this.
I mean, the one thing that I want to say is that this team wanted to win this game. They've put everything they could in preparation for this tournament and in every game that they go. So to question the mentality of this team, to question the willingness to win, to compete, I think it's insane. But
So I kind of found myself in the middle of this debate because on one hand, I watched the lead up to the Women's World Cup out of the U.S. team. And yes, I would say that this team, despite its flaws, it didn't seem like they were playing poorly for a lack of effort. It just seems that, frankly, they're not as good as they were in the dynastic days, A. And B, the rest of the world has begun to catch up. So we were never going to go in and just be the team that rattled off a bunch of 7-0, 5-0, 5-2 wins in this tournament. But I also see Carli's point. Like, yes, I don't necessarily love seeing the girls go out, take a 0-0 draw, survive by the skin of their teeth, and then walk over and start dancing on the sidelines that they just won the Super Bowl, right? I have no problem with athletes utilizing their platform to field their own public opinions. They have opinions on life outside of sports, just like you and me. And I don't have a problem with anyone using their platform, whether I agree or disagree with their takes. But what I will say is you only have that platform because you're an elite athlete. You only have that platform based on what you have accomplished and will accomplish moving forward. So to watch them on the sideline, like it's, I don't know, Zoe, it's like watching a team in baseball win a wild card spot to go into the playoffs and then popping champagne off in the locker room. Now, it's a little over the top, fellas.
All right, so I'm not trying to cause trouble here because I don't do that. I'm more of about peace. But you have mentioned, I believe, and other people about a tie is important, and this was a tie. So, and in soccer, a tie can be a victory.
And in this case, it was.
And it was. Should they be upset about the fact that they didn't play as well as they could? Yeah, but they still moved on. So should they, put their heads down and go, yeah, we don't deserve it, and walk off the field? I get what Carli Lloyd is saying, but at the same time, because ties are important in soccer, and because of said tie, whether it was the benefit of the post or not, you're moving on. So, I think it's a whole lot about nothing. They need to go out and they need to play better. I do enjoy that the coach went full on Belichick at the end of the press conference, though. And we're moving on to whatever team it was.
Oh, he did go full on Belichickian, and I appreciated it. Look, all I'm saying here is I get both sides of this argument. I really do. I understand both sides. I understand Carli because it's like, yeah, let me put it this way. When I was growing up, Zoe, if I came home with like a B- in, English, a language that I speak primarily, actually only, my old man, like I'd be like, hey, I got a B-, right? That's above average. And my old man would go, are you dialed in to be above average, or do you expect better of yourself? Right? Are you dialed in?
By the way, I love this guy. I wish I could have met him because, I had the same thing. And you've met my children. They'll come on with, okay, do you understand why you missed the one you missed?
Yeah.
If you had to do it again, would you miss that question? Instead of going, hey, good job. Because expectations are more than what you just gave me. I expect you to be perfect because you're smart enough to do that.
it was always, and it used to frustrate me as a kid because I'd feel like I'd bring home a 90 on a test and he'd
By the way, they still bring it up. They brought it up last week.
It never leaves, right? And I will say that I think to some degree, like for a lot of people, I'm not necessarily saying me because my mom's listening. I think for a lot of people, it can have an impact, right? Because you come home and you got 9 out of 10 right on the chemistry exam. And what does Pops want to do? Wants to hammer you on why you got the one wrong. And instead of in our, hey, why don't we celebrate that I got 9 of them right? Because it's more important to fix the one you got wrong. And to me, that's what this discussion is about. Yeah, we moved on. That's great. But we expect more than to move on because in moving on, we moved on as second in the group. What does second in the group get us? A bad play time, a further travel against a better opponent in Sweden. Had we won this group, we'd have been in a better playing time, a shorter road trip, and we would have been playing South Africa, who had to get a miracle to get by and move on. We would have played the worst team in the knockout round in Group 1, and instead, we're playing arguably the best team that ain't us. So the question here is, do we celebrate that we got in, or do we say we expect better than average?
I think in the moment, you go ahead and celebrate. Then you get back to work and you go back to what we were just talking about in the analogy. You go back and figure out what you did wrong and you fix it. And in the end, you're going to have to play the second best team anyway, more than likely in the championship game. So why is it a big, because you have a harder road? So what? If you're as good as you're supposed to be, that should not matter.
We don't do that in any other sport, though. Well, I guess some people do. I don't know, man. Like the more games you play against top tier talent, the better the odds you drop one are, especially in football where one goal can change a tournament, right? Again, South Africa beat Italy. That's a powerhouse. They outscored them by 1 in the dying minutes of that game. And now South Africa's into the knockout phase. There are times when I go, yes, we should celebrate. Like an MLB player should celebrate making it to the show. An NFL player should celebrate making it to the league. These are all very important things, and they're worth celebrating. But I think the old man was always trying to teach me, and I think I apply it here. If you celebrate barely doing enough, you're always going to barely do enough. If you celebrate overachievement, then you will always reach for overachievement. Here's the difference between where we are and where other clubs are. Yes, there are going to be years where your favorite team goes 3 or 4 games over 500 and squeaks into a playoff, and you're going to celebrate that because you had 0 expectations of a playoff that year. But there are also going to be years. You know what it is? It's Clemson last year. You and I agree. Clemson had a damn good year last year. Right?
We're not the only ones. Cade mentioned that when you interviewed
100%.
him.
Damn good year last year for the Tigers, and yet Clemson Tiger fans are by and large unhappy with last year. Why? Because the expectations are high. Now, sometimes people set unrealistically high expectations. I don't think Clemson did. Their expectation was make the playoff. Anything less was a disappointment. They were disappointing, and that is the difference between Clemson and, say, the Youngstown State Penguins.
I know it's fresh in your mind, but Youngstown's usually pretty good. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
But are they NCAA football playoffs good? No.
Maybe on their level.
Their good is maybe if we go get one Power 5 victory against a Vanderbilt, we'll celebrate that for years, right? Texture said the 2000s Patriots were a dynasty because they dominated competition and played favorable playoff matchup year in and year out. Exactly right. The path to a championship in the playoffs should be as easy as you can make it. And how do you make it easy? By being the best during the regular season. The World Cup regular season is the group stage. We had a bleep poor regular season. And now we've set ourselves up for a very difficult path to a Women's World Cup Super Bowl. I'll stick by that.
All right, Youngstown State was only 7-4 last year. So,
and again, maybe realistically speaking, that's wonderful for them. But it ain't good enough for Clemson, is it? It ain't good enough for Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia. They are the Women's World Cup. They are playoffs, and anything less is a waste of a season. And I think that's kind of the attitude that I took here. Real quick, because I want to do some NFL coming up in the next segment. PGA loyalist Tiger Woods has been added to the Players Directors Board of the PGA and whatever it turns into. Of course, we have had multiple comments from players, including Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, who have all had issues with the merger and how it was handled. They sent a letter to the PGA Tour on Monday demanding the players receive more involvement in the decision-making process to shape the future of golf post-merger. And in response to that letter, the PGA has invited and accepted Tiger Woods as a new member to the PGA Tour Commissioner Board alongside Jay Monahan. They said he will have, quote, influential, end quote, decision-making power on the board's governing documents. Of course, Tiger, if you're a player, I think has to be one of the better picks that you could make because of the fact that Tiger stood to make north of $1 billion by jumping the LIV Tour. And he said, no, I'm a PGA guy. I'm staying here. And despite the fact that he got stabbed in the back, the reality here is even if the PGA Tour stabbed you in the back, and they did, we all agree on that. Even if they stabbed you in the back, you have two options. Option number one is you can go double bird on the way out the door.
They didn't stab him in the back, though. They did exactly what you said you would do with offered the right amount of money.
Correct. Here's the difference. The difference is I don't go on rants going, bleep the LIV Tour. I'll never work with the LIV Tour. I hope the LIV Tour dies. I hope this is oh, yeah, I'll take that money. The PGA Tour openly fought a war. And more importantly, Zoe, this is the real crime of the PGA Tour. It's not that they did that. The true crime, the number one crime they did was they asked Rory McIlroy and John Rahm and Tiger Woods to stand out in front of them and insult the LIV Tour, to stand out in front of them and defend the honor of the PGA Tour. And while Rory and Tiger and John Rahm and these other guys were standing in the very public limelight and talking about how bad the LIV Tour is and it's bad for golf and it's bad for America and it's bad for this image and it's bad for this and it's bad for that, while the PGA Tour asked them and they were doing that, the PGA Tour was secretly behind closed doors shaking hands and kissing cheeks with those guys.
All right. So, hey, Tiger, Rory, I know you guys like money. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to go out and you're going to slam them. And the more money we make, the more money you make. So you make this convincing. You go out there and you put on good promos. And after the promos are done, we all going to get paid.
I appreciate your dedication to the everything's a work shtick. I appreciate your dedication to that.
What is the percentage of possibility there for you?
1%.
At least there's a percentage.
1%.
I usually don't get that much out of you. So I got a 1% out of it.
But as most things.
Wait, 1%, Rob?
I want you to
imagine
think,
that.
As I say about most conspiracy theories, I want you to think how many people have to be involved with that and keep it a secret forever.
When there is a very large amount of money, that will buy silence.
Right. And all it takes is one guy who does not get his cut. One guy who was not on the deal to find out and blast it in the papers.
Of the guys you mentioned,
all this falls
who's
apart.
the rat? There's no rat there.
It doesn't have to be a guy that mentioned. There's 180 golfers on the
tour.
But
if you pick those select few, and those are the guys that are going to go out there and do the promos.
And none of them are going to shoot Jaeger out of the Ryder Cup and let it slip on a bus. It's like faking the moon landing. How many people have to be in on that and keep it a secret until they die for it to be worked?
This is why we need Dan Aykroyd on this show so he can tell you why they did it.
They didn't fake the moon landing, and this didn't happen. All right. Tiger's on the PGA Tour board now. Good, I guess. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just
wait.
Now.
No. Let's give away some tickets.
Oh, let's give away some tickets.
Let's
I like that idea.
Let's do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, should you like to attend this Saturday, August 5th, All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision live at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, now is your chance because Zoe and I are giving away 2 tickets to that event, and we're giving them away right now to caller number 6. Caller number 6. I know I had to look around. Caller number 6 right now to 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Caller number 6 right now is going to win a pair of tickets to All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision this Saturday night, live at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, downtown Greenville, South Carolina. CM Punk, the Redeemer, Miro, Darby Allin, and Chris Statlander amongst the stars in attendance. Caller number 6 right now wins those tickets on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we got to go to break while Lonzo answers the phone and gets some info. We'll be right back.
He could be. I don't know what Trent's last name is. So, I mean, the Trent from Best. Yeah, I do. That may not even really be his name. So, but anyway, so I don't think that Trent would need tickets, but he could. Hey, look, we're back.
Graham Neff said that Clemson IPTE donors donated, along with the annual fund, over $177 million to the Clemson program.
To the program itself or to their NIL fund?
No, to the program.
Hey, what's that?
That is a Google streetcar. When you go to Google Maps and you see the street view.
That's what I thought it was.
That's the camera they use.
Okay. I couldn't see the side of the car. I thought it had a different color for it, but actually it does say Google on it, doesn't it? I see it in the back. Do you think that's a fun job? Because all you're doing is driving around, driving in parking lots.
I drove Uber for a while, a long time ago, just to make some extra cash.
Yeah, but that you don't have to stop and pick anybody up. You're just driving in driveways.
It was the driving that eventually drove me, because I don't mind driving. I like driving, especially if they're like fun drives, scenic drives, mountain drives, whatever. After probably 3 weeks of driving Uber, I was like, no, I can't drive anymore. I hate this. I think I get bored. I think I get bored, and B, every time you drive by anybody, like, you can't do anything distracting you from driving because you're going to get reported and fired for it. Not that I'm advising anyone do anything that distracts them from driving. Yes, I'm also thinking when that guy leaves, I'm going to go out in the parking lot and do something ridiculous.
Do you mean like you normally do when you leave every day?
Correct.
It's a different thing every day.
All right.
Wait. So we got a winner for the tickets, by the way. So if you're still calling, sorry, but we have a chance to you have a chance rather to win tickets tomorrow or Friday. So don't give up. Just give up today because Trent beat you to it and he won the tickets. And congratulations to Trent, who also goes by another name on the stream. I don't. Do I say who that? I mean, it's okay. It's the Ayatollah.
The Ayatollah.
Yeah.
I like it. And
Yeah.
by the way, I'm not saying that you should join the stream.
Love
I'm
rock
just
and roll.
saying that the stream sometimes overhears conversations between Lonzo and I about what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, kind of stuff.
They don't overhear it. It's called, hey, we're getting ready to do this.
Yeah,
It's a stream exclusive. So, which is why we want you to listen on the radio, but we also want you to be on the stream.
Yep.
And you can-
Facebook.com/FanUpstate, Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate. Search and subscribe to the Fan Upstate on YouTube or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. All right.
Tomorrow, by the way, around 11:20ish, we're definitely giving away.
Fight Club!
Yeah, right after Fight Club. So now you know ahead of time, all the people who didn't get a win today, after Fight Club, we're going straight into giving the tickets.
Yep. And it's going to be fun. So make sure that you are tuned in tomorrow for Fight Club because we'll give tickets away at the end of Fight Club. And then on Friday, early in the show, probably in the opening hour of the show, we'll give away those tickets as well so we can get them out on time Friday afternoon to the winners. And then those of you that do win, we'll see you Saturday night at the Well. Okie doke. College football conference expansion continues. Yada, 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 Pac-12. Yeah. Yesterday, you know all of that part. Yesterday, the Pac-12 leadership sat down.
That's not how you radio, Rob.
That's how I radio. George Kliavkoff, the commissioner of the Pac-12, and the rest of the leadership of that conference all sat down at a big table yesterday and started having a discussion about where this conference stands. And George Kliavkoff came to the table with two potential media rights grant agreements. And that's the big thing for the Pac-12, right? We know the three corner schools, one of which Colorado has already left. The other two, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, are considering it. We're basically waiting to hear what the Pac-12 was going to bring to the table financially to determine if it was worth it to stay or if they should accept the potential invite from the Big 12 or maybe the ACC to jump over and join those conferences. Well, Kliavkoff came to the table with apparently and reportedly two different media rights grants that were on board. The first one of them would be a relatively short-term contract with Apple, of which Apple would pay them up front significantly less money than the Big 12 would pay. But it does come with the caveat that that money would go up based on subscriber count. So it does two things. Number one, it incentivizes the Pac-12 to basically beg the fans of every school to subscribe to Apple, because if they drive up the subscription cost and quantity, they would get more money out of Apple. The second thing that it does, and this is what I think has a bigger impact, is it incentivizes the Pac-12 not to enter into agreements with ESPN, Fox, CBS, whoever else, to put highlight games on cable TV, right? It would incentivize them to put highlight games within the Pac-12 on Apple. So if you want to see the last game of USC versus Oregon, that's a conference game, you gotta pay to watch it on Apple, right? Which of course means that there will be more subscribers theoretically, and therefore the Pac-12 will get more money from Apple. The second deal would see a slightly larger return up front from a streaming site, but it would still allow the Pac-12 to put games, highlight games, on linear television, on ESPN, etc. So it would create a situation where the Pac-12 was still incentivized to allow their big-time contests to be on regular television where we could all watch it. Bad news is they did not walk away with any sort of agreement or even consensus on what they should do. They also walked away knowing that no matter what they do, they were likely going to see every team in the conference make less money than they would if they jump over to the Big 12. And they are doing so with the thought of, if this works, and Apple loves this, they will pay us a lot more, which is the reason, for instance, Apple has a contract with Major League Baseball and owns the exclusive rights of Major League Soccer for the first time this year. We also saw their subscriber count skyrocket when Leo Messi signed on with Inter Miami. And so the Pac-12 is going to look and go, how do we have a Messi moment, right? How do we have a moment where we get the subscription count to skyrocket because of one piece of news or information? I don't know. Let me grab, if you don't mind, great one, clip number 2. Pete Thamel joined ESPN after he got the inside phone calls from this meeting yesterday and broke it down this way. So, probably not a deal that's going to be signed off on anytime soon, and that's bad news for the Pac-12, in my opinion. It's bad news for the Pac-12 because if you do indeed have the Big 12 reaching out to Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah, and by the way, the rumor mill picked up, and again, rumors, grain of salt, shaker of salt. You also have the rumors that Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, and Washington State, these are the good teams in the Pac-12. You have the rumors that they are all reigniting their flirtation with other conferences, primarily, in the case of the Pacific Northwestern teams, the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten is likely going to be paying, if I recall the numbers off the top of my head correctly, upwards of $70 million a year to schools. The deal's on the table yesterday. Again, rumors and projection, prognostication are that the Pac-12 will likely be able to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $21 to $27 million per year per school. Lonzo, if you had an opportunity to make what you're making now, about $21 million a year here at the Fan Upstate, or to go across town to work remotely, to do slightly tougher jobs and to make $70+ million a year. I'm no mathematician, but I got a feeling I could guess which one of those jobs you'd take.
Yeah, especially since I could live in the same house. So,
Yep.
so it's
You don't have to move.
Just going across town. Town's not that big.
Yeah.
I think I might do that.
All you got to do is occasionally take a slightly longer road trip. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, we don't know. Across town might be closer to me.
It's also true. So, that being said, this is bad news for the Pac-12. If this is the best deal they can get, it's bad news because they are saying to the schools considering leaving, Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, Washington State. They are saying to those schools, hey, look, the potential for Big 12 money, which I think is, again, if I recall, around $50 million a year out the gate. The potential for Big 12 money is there. We just have to sell more subscriptions to Apple TV. I don't know about you, Lonzo. I don't like sales. I don't like pressure. And you are effectively being pressured to, hey, if you want to make what the kids across town are making, you got to go sell candy bars door to door.
Yeah, I don't like sales, but believe it or not, I do like salespeople, especially when they sell this program.
Yep. I don't like the setup. So if I'm Oregon State, Washington State, Arizona State, or Utah, and I'm being told, yeah, man, we can get you to Big 12 money, but you got to go sell candy bars door to door. My thought would be, why don't I just go to the Big 12? Why don't I just go to the Big 10? I can make the same, if not more money, and I don't have to sell, right? Not that Oregon State has to literally sell candy bars door to door, but they do have to go out of their way to try to create a reason for people to subscribe, for Beavers fans, for Ducks fans, for Utes fans, for Sun Devil fans, to sign up for Apple and credit them for it. So it's not that far off of an analogy. That's real bad news for the Pac-12, in my opinion. Remember, George Kliavkoff has been saying for a hot minute now, he's been saying, hey, the longer we wait to sign off on a grant of rights agreement, the more valuable that grant of rights agreement becomes. The longer that we wait to sign a contract, the more valuable that contract becomes, except for in the time that they were waiting. They've lost USC and UCLA. The valuation on that, Lonzo, the valuation I have seen from a couple of different economists is the belief that the Pac-12 lost 40% of their grant of rights valuation amongst companies. Fox and ESPN and Apple and all these companies that could carry their games believe that they lost 40% of their valuation. 40% is a big number. It's a big number. 40% might have been enough to make up the ground between the 21 to 25 million that they are going to be able to pay out this year based on the projected GOR and the amount of money that the Big 12 is paying right now. 40% might have been enough to keep Arizona State, and Utah from jumping from the Pac-12 over to the Big 12. They'd have made the same amount of money in the Pac-12 and could have stuck around, but obviously with USC and UCLA there, that money would have been split up. Everybody would have been happy. They split. That money goes with them. And it's not a great look because there's no footprint in LA now, the biggest TV market in America. There's no footprint there anymore. And because there's no footprint there anymore, the whole brand comes down. So if this is the best that George Kliavkoff was able to negotiate, was this deal with Apple, where these schools still have to sell subscriptions to get to Big 12 money. That's not encouraging. Like, at all. Oh, and by the way, while we're at it, there was a comment yesterday, and I got to go dig it up because I thought I had put it in my rundown, but apparently I didn't. But there was a comment from the FSU, if I recall off the top of my head correctly, FSU boosters president, Board of Trustees president, Peter Collins. In fact, you know what? Let me give me the sound if you don't mind, Zoe. I'll just play it for you. This is from War Chant. War Chant is the, I think, Rivals website for FSU, and they do a good job. Board of Trustees Chair Peter Collins said this on their pod yesterday. So what he means is this. What he said was, that will not be the document that keeps us from taking action. Now, there's two actions we can be talking about here. Stay in the ACC, leave the ACC. And what he's saying is the ACC's grant of rights agreement will not be the document that makes us stay or go. Now, what other documents could be the reason that FSU stays or go? The grant of right agreements from other conferences, right? That's what can make them stay or go. Whatever the ACC gets in its next grant of rights, if it can get a new grant of rights, right? Again, there's two possibilities. The ACC gets a new GOR, or the ACC keeps the current GOR. If another conference, the SEC or the Big Ten most likely, want Florida State, they are going to come to Florida State with a document. This is our grant of rights, and therefore this is the amount of money that you will make if you come over to our conference, yeah? And that sheet is going to have a number on it. And you hope it's a big sheet. If they come to you with a number on it that is higher than the return from the ACC's GOR, Florida State could jump. If they come to Florida State with a number that is lower than the ACC's GOR, then Florida State will stay. But it depends on what the ACC's GOR, if and when they renegotiate it, ends up looking like. Or if they negotiate it at all. So for the Pac-12 to find out that their GOR is going to pay less than the Big 12 and way less than the Big 10, when they already know that there are at least 3 and as many as 7 teams looking to jump, to also know that there is the possibility that FSU, and therefore I assume Clemson, and probably Miami, and probably North Carolina / Duke. If those teams are on the table, and again, you guys all heard the rumor last week that Florida State was making phone calls. I don't have any reason to believe those rumors, respectfully. I haven't heard them. I haven't heard from anyone that has inside sources or firsthand information that these are true. I've got friends in the media in Tallahassee. None of them have known about these phone calls. And they're pretty dialed in. If this is accurate and FSU's on the board, it likely means Clemson's on the board. It likely means Miami's on the board. It likely means that the SEC and the Big Ten could be keeping an eye on these teams, which would also mean that their GOR valuation goes up further ahead of the Pac-12's. And the Pac-12 doesn't have anybody on the board. Because if FSU is going to jump from the ACC, are they going to the Pac-12? First off, consider all the schematics that go into that, right? Flying across the country literally multiple times per year. And B, the Pac-12 is going to give you 30% of what the Big Ten or the SEC can pay. It's going to give you 50% of what the Big 12 can play. Those numbers don't add up. I'm not saying the Pac-12 is dead, but beep, 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 beep.
Okay, that wasn't a truck backing up. That's the heart monitor. Okay.
Right, and it's slowing down a lot.
Got you. Okay.
A lot. I'm not saying the Pac-12 is dead. I am saying this news from their meeting yesterday is a death rattle, and it is especially a death rattle if indeed FSU, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina are now on the table. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll ask what the X is going on when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I just sent you like 3 or 4 things on Twitter, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Some are important, some are not.
Some are important, some are not.
Well, the last one could be something potential, for sure. You're right, Steven. I sent him something on X. I misspoke. I think the first thing I sent you was about Vince McMahon. And then there's a sports betting, illicit sports betting operation that could include professional athletes. And then there's something that I'm curious if we should do as a taste test. Of course, you could just, believe that everything I said is unimportant and actually do work as opposed to looking at my stuff, which is more fun. But, Payton.
Sean Payton. On July 17th, or wait, is this in Twitter?
No. I sent you stuff that's not on Twitter.
On July 17, 2023, federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant and served a federal grand jury subpoena on Mr. Vince McMahon. No charges have been brought in these investigations.
So I seen it posted a couple of times, but I waited till it was posted by someone who I thought would actually know. So.
That's interesting because that indicates big oopses.
Yes, it does.
Real big oopses.
What do you think about them hot dogs?
Will Ospreay chops a fan?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good, too. Most fans don't look like this guy, though.
Yeah, that's dude.
Yeah.
Like, he might be a fan, but that dude's a wrestler.
Will Ospreay is intense, man.
He really is.
Yeah, I don't know if I want, I mean, my dude laughs it off like it's no big deal. What else was he going to do?
What else are you going to do?
Fall down, cry?
Yeah, die? Could you imagine a Mountain Dew flavored hot dog? I hate you for putting this in my face.
I've seen that by several different people.
There are some I'd be in for. Like a Cheerwine hot dog, I'd probably try. A Coca-Cola hot dog, I'd probably try. That looks awful.
Yeah, I gotta see.
And the hot dogs are green.
Yeah, no, I gotta see if it's actually available. Get this off my timeline. Mountain Dew hot dogs go viral.
Better choice, Philly or French dip? Ooh, that's a good fight, Steven. That's a real good fight.
I'm going to go with Philly. I think French dip leaves more of an aftertaste.
I love French dips, but bro, I will drive across town for a good Philly. Damn, that's a good question.
Mountain Dew hot dogs have captivated the sports world.
Steven, you got to let me think about that. You got to let me think about that.
Or Blue Down, Duracell, engineered for more. Available in 2032, 2025, and 2016 sizes.
My friend and I are taking a trip.
Lots of big name people are interested in the hot dogs, but I can't. I want to see where they're available for purchase if they are. Well, there's one that says Walmart. Let's see if they actually have them in Walmart. That's just Mountain Dew. I don't see hot dogs. I just want to see the looks on everyone's face on Saturday night when I bring out the Mountain Dew hot dogs. If I do indeed find them, do you cook them or do you eat them without cooking? You've never opened up a pack of hot dogs and just ate them cold?
No, you sociopath.
Wow, look at the look on his face. Everyone on the stream right now is eating a hot dog, a cold hot dog out of the pack.
No,
for sure.
Haven't. How many of y'all have just opened the pack and raw dogged the hot dog?
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Look at the look on his face.
You've gone too far this time.
No, I have not. I thought everyone did that. Wow. I guess it's just us poor people.
What? No, you stop it. You stop it because you've gone too far, Alonzo. You've gone too far. Lonzo told me during the break that he has opened up a pack of hot dogs and just raw dogged the hot dog. Just ate it, just out of the pack and ate it. You just pulled a dog.
Yeah, I think you
out of the
should.
pack
I think you should
and
word it a
ate
little bit differently. But yeah, I think a lot of people have, including Steven. Keegan says, "Poor people, you can't afford boiling water." No, man, that's you gotta pay your electric
Listen,
for that.
Do you understand? You're not this argument is not gonna fly. The Rum's rich, that's why he's never eaten a raw. No,
Is that what I sound like?
Boiling water. That's all it takes to cook these things. You are telling me you have at some point in your life opened a hot dog package, pulled a raw hot dog out, and just threw it down the hatch.
This is the first time that I've heard that that's not a normal thing. The fact that you haven't, that's not a surprise because we all know about you living on the other side of the track. But then other people,
water.
Yeah.
It's not like you need $1,000 in kitchen equipment.
Stop
to
it,
make
Keegan.
a
I knew you would go there because
freaking
that's what he was. He set you up to do that. I hope you know that. I hope you know that.
How many of you? I'm dead. I've never been more serious about this in my life.
At least not today.
71307. Start your text with fan. Have you ever eaten a raw hot dog straight out of the pack? I got to imagine this is the a true 1%.
Oh, look at that, Steven. Look
Is
at
the
that.
1% of people who have ever. You're telling me in the time it takes you to raw eat a hot dog, you're like, you will open the hot dog, cut the hot dog, put cheese on it, close it. You will take that much time to make a raw hot dog cheese sandwich, but you won't boil it for 4 minutes.
I apologize to the people who are listening right now and are trying to adjust the volume on their radio. He really is.
They're all going, Lonzo, what is this?
No, they're not.
71307. Start your text with fan.
All right,
Have
we're
you
going to
ever
continue
eaten a
this.
raw hot dog? What is this?
After the show, we're going to walk down the hall and we're going to go to each room in the hallway and we're going to ask people this.
I have never in my life felt that I was in the majority more than I do right now.
Wow.
I feel like I could walk down the hall
Dude.
and be like, do you hate puppies? And more people would be on the other side
That's
than
a
this.
horrible analogy. You must not really like you bring puppies up an awful lot.
Texter said, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the texter said, when I was a kid, I've raw dogged a hot dog. It's been years though. Texter says, my daughter asked to eat a raw hot dog and I was horrified and scolded her. One texter says, I have eaten a whole pack raw. There's nothing better.
All right, so
yes, there is.
It would appear
hot dogs.
It would appear that the majority, at least so far, is on my side. So I think you and Keegan are the oddballs. You guys are
pure insanity.
I guess that's why you hang together, because I mean, you know,
raw insanity. This is insanity. No, this is not a thing.
Yeah, Steven, we are adding raw hot dog to the list for sure.
Texter said not just yes, but hell yes. No, you people are lying now.
Exactly, Chris Lewis. Listen to Chris Lewis.
It's like a stick of bologna. You'll eat a bologna sandwich, but you'll be fine eating a cold raw hot dog. Oh my.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Chris, of all the people, I expected better of you.
Thank you, Chris.
I expected better of you.
Steven, you're right. He is just hangry because he never eats breakfast. So I mean, you know, there's that.
Raw hot dog. Texter said, sorry, Rob. Yes, I have even wrapped either cheese or a piece of ham around it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wrap some cheese around it. Oh, man, that's so good. That is so good. For sure.
What is... No,
yeah, Rob, but Chris has the perfect answer. Have you ever eaten a bologna sandwich? Did you heat that bologna? Are you a savage?
No, I fry my bologna like a Southern gentleman should.
Yeah, okay.
What is happening right now? I'm 38 years old. I have never heard of this. Texter said, Rob, no way. And I now believe there's no hope for humanity. Yeah, I'm on team. We're screwed.
All right. I would love to see the socioeconomic status of all the people who are on your side.
This is not a rich. Stop making yourself a victim to justify
By the way,
awful food
dude,
take.
I'm in the majority. How am I a victim? The majority of the people that our small sample sizes said, yes, they have done it. So I'm not making myself a victim. I'm not pointing out how you're the opposite of victim.
I'm
just throw your nose up in the air and go cook your hot dog.
I am beyond disturbed right now. I am beyond
exactly,
disturbed.
Chris. Chris gets it. Why can't Rob Brown get it?
I'm so glad.
We need to go.
I'm glad the show's over.
Dude, we need to go. Let's go.
The show's over. Finally, the show's over. See you all back here tomorrow. Maybe on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Yeah. What?
Also a good point, John. Those aren't cooked. Those are not cooked. Vienna sausages. And they have that wonderful jelly.
Raw hot dogs as food.
Have you ate sushi before, Rob?
First off,
No. There's no added to it. Have you eaten sushi? If you have no argument. Just
First
get
off,
up and walk out the room.
the CDC says it is not recommended to eat raw hot dogs because they can be contaminated with harmful bacteria such as Listeria, E. coli, and Salmonella.
Okay.
So first off, you're living on the edge already.
So you consult the CDC before you consume any food?
I mean, it's not the worst idea.
Excuse
Hey,
me.
doctors, will this food potentially kill me? I feel like that's important to know.
This looks really good on the menu. Can I see the CDC recommendations before I partake
No,
of your
because
particular food?
restaurants have to go through health standards, and that's why you'll never go to a restaurant and see raw hot dogs on the menu. It is never happened.
You know, if you did in the state of South Carolina, it would come with raw chili also.
Oh man, we came off the rails at the end here, and
Yeah, hazing's not legal, Chris. So I'm sure you didn't experience that, like I didn't experience hazing, or Rob didn't experience hazing. Yes, none of us did.
Okay, so what you're saying here, Chris, is that your experience in raw hot dogs have come from situations where other people were trying to make you miserable. Checks out.
That's not what he said at all. He's like, that's his first experience. Just like when a buddy takes you out to eat and says, "Hey, try this." It's the same sort of thing.
Keegan said, when the show runs over because of hot dogs, of course it's hot dogs. Yeah. Yep.
He hasn't been this passionate about anything in a while,
Nope.
so it's almost I'd be scared if I was, smaller.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Well, if Boo Box Bets were to come back, eating a raw hot dog.
Why would that be a punishment, Lonzo? It's super normal and everybody knows
By
it.
the way, it wouldn't be a punishment for me. It would be pleasure for you. It absolutely would be. Just like me having my shoes off like I do right now wouldn't be a problem. But we saw how much Rob enjoyed it when he had to do it. So, I mean,
I have to go. I have to leave now. Thank most of you for watching the show and commenting.
You guys are awesome,
Much
by the
appreciated.
way.
Share this with all of your friends who don't eat raw hot dogs.
And all the ones who, because if you did that, then, I mean, that would be a minority of people you'd share with. The majority of the people do. So you should share with them.
Have a nice day. Goodbye.